It's the Brewers. They're flying the L. The concern continues to mount for Christian Yelich's back. And this week, we also begin our look around at the NFC North, getting you ready for the NFL draft coming up on Thursday night. Today, Fishbane from The Athletic is going to be joining us. We'll talk with him later on the program today. He covers the Chicago Bears, but earlier this morning, coming up in less than a half an hour from now, it is going to be the voice of the Detroit Lions. Dan Miller is going to be here as well and tell us what the Lions are attempting to do is they have traded away Matthew Stafford. They pick up Jared Goff. They're trying to kind of reconstitute their quarterback position. And in doing so, thus beginning, I want to call it a minor rebuild, if you will. So it is, man, oh man, I tell you what, a good day today as the Brewers. The Brewers get a nice set of wins over the weekend, and they have won, 5 of the last 6. And the nice thing is the Cubs are flying the L. The Brewers have a command right now of the National League Central. And in addition to that, the Brewers also have been, again, doing this without the likes of Christian Yelich. You kind of keep wondering to yourself, when you do get Yelich back, what is it going to be? What is it going to mean? How much better is this team going to get? Their pitching is outstanding, just simply outstanding. The Brewers right now, 2 games up on St. Louis. So St. Louis goes from the bottom of the division now to second place in the division, 2 games back. The Cubs 3 games back. Pittsburgh, believe it or not, 2.5 back. And Cincinnati, who continues to lose, has lost 7 in a row. After starting off 6-1, they are now 3-11 in their last 14 ball games, and they're sucking swamp water because their bullpen absolutely positively sucks. So that's their Achilles heel. In the meantime, the Brewers just keep on doing their thing. So now they come back to the confines of American Family Field, but they sent Christian Yelich back to get the back MRI'd. It's a concern. So he comes back, they do the MRI, and the good news is, no problem. This is just a muscular thing, just some spasms and stuff that eventually, hopefully, gets taken care of. But nevertheless, it was really kind of good news. Now you just got to wonder how long it's going to take him to get back, how long it's going to take him to just start feeling better. And just give him, as long as you're winning ball games, no reason to press him back right now, So you're keeping on. Things are good. So right now, as far as Christian Yelich goes, don't worry about it. Darren says, got to give Stearns and Counsel credit for the handling of this team. I know people don't get excited about signing the likes of Billy McKinney, but he goes on to say, but these depth moves have helped the Brewers get off to the 13-8 start they have. You are 100% correct. Remember when we were talking back in spring training, and some of you were saying, oh, come on, Jackie Bradley Jr., what are you doing? Why are you signing additional guys to the outfield? You're not going to need them. This is stupid. And I said, no, because it's not. And David Stearns said this to us last year at spring training. It's not about how many people you have. It's about how many bats you're going to get. Everybody's going to get about 400 at bats or more just because things happen. And sure enough, like Nostradamus, David Stearns is correct. So you've seen things go in that direction. And the Brewers have needed everybody. And McKinney has been fantastic. 100% agree with you. 877-867-1670. That's the phone number. You want to get hold of the program, 877-867-1670. Hit us up over on Twitter, @Bill_Michaels, @Bill_Michaels. The Facebook fan page where you can follow us over on the Bud Light live stream, simply facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. You can follow us on YouTube and on Twitch TV as well. And subscribe, follow, like, react, whatever you want to do. Absolutely free on both platforms, YouTube and on Twitch. You can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. And you can also follow us on the website, which is simply thebillmichaels.com, thebillmichaels.com. So there you go. Plenty of ways to chime in. Hey, by the way, I want to say hi to Chris listening to us in Wausau, ESPN radio up there. Chris sent me a real nice note over the weekend about how he is a delivery driver all throughout the state of Wisconsin and listens every day, follows us on the stream when he can't get us in the city that he's in, but said, it's great to have you on the stream, great to have you on YouTube and to follow over there, and loves listening to the program. And he also said that a couple of buddies of his are now listening on the stream as they drive around, listening to it in the trucks as well. So thanks for listening. We certainly appreciate it. So going back to the Brewers getting 2 over the Cubs, I'll say this for you Cubs fans that started to just jackwag in the mouths on Friday. And I had said at the time, because Friday was kind of a cool night. Friday night, Chris and I went out. We went and got a dinner at a place called the Sail Loft in Milwaukee and did a little fish fry thing and then just sat back and had a cigar and a beverage and went downtown. And on Friday night, there was a couple of Cubs fans that I had run into, and some of you over on the Facebook page and on Twitter, after the 15-2 beatdown, you're like, okay, the Cubs are back. And I kept saying, you know what? It's great to have that kind of an outpouring of runs, but it's one game. Just see if you can sustain the 15-2 run. And then sure enough, you come back and you lose 4-3 on Saturday. And then yesterday you get blanked by a really solid outing. Woodruff just spectacular. And the Brewers get a 6-0 win. And the Brewers just blew it open late in that ball game. And the Cubs were baffled pretty much all day long. So and the fact that you've got a relief staff that couldn't get the ball over the plate. You're walking in runs. And that's the reason I say, look, when you have a big blowout win, it's great. But tell me what you're doing tomorrow and tell me what you're doing the next day. You know? Adam came in, gave up 5 runs, but 2 of those runs, he walked runners in. Walked in runners. And then obviously Maples comes in. He can't throw strikes. He ends up walking a batter as well. But nevertheless, Maples did have a couple of strikeouts, but nevertheless, I mean, the Brewers just kept loading the bases. Loading the base, driving in. Loading the bases, driving them in. Loading the bases, driving them in. Yes, you got Keston Hiura, who was 0 for yesterday. Continues to struggle. But the average now up to a whopping 145. And I know we're on Keston Hiura watch, but he ends up going 3 for 4 and a run scored, 1 strikeout. So started to hit the ball. Started to hit the ball on deck with maybe a little bit better, taking a few more walks here and there. Maybe, just maybe, with the average on the rise, maybe Keston Hiura starts to pay off a little bit more. Cross your fingers in that area. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Let's see here. Yeah, Kinger, you're right. Truck drivers everywhere, convoy everywhere. Like it. Eric says the YouTube stream says Friday. Really? It says Friday? I'd have to check. Oh, it does say Friday. I don't know why. But it does say Friday. Thank you for the update. Maybe it didn't update fully. We'll wait and see if it changes throughout the day. It was changed. The base pattern for those watching on the Bud Light live stream, that's what we're talking about. It says Monday, but oh well, something got glitched. I don't know. We'll see if it changes throughout the day. But we're on the air, and today's a new day. We're here on Monday and getting ready to talk some NFC North. I'm excited today. We really start to take a look at the NFL draft. Now, we did talk about it on Friday when it comes to the NFL draft, that if there's this discussion about, well, do you really talk about the NFL draft prior to the draft? There are guys you want to pay attention to. There are players that are out there that could make an opponent better, that could make your team better. I think when you get into the third and fourth and fifth rounds and who may or may not be there, I don't think we look nearly as deep when it comes to those rounds. But I think what you tend to look for is needs. What are the needs that you have? What are the needs, at least prioritized by many on the outside looking in, for your team? You know, what's projected for your team? You know, you go to our lads and you look at Greg Rousseau, the defensive end from Miami, and their mock draft. Now, they do a mock draft without trades and shuffling around. I mean, they kind of put it in writing. They don't update it every other day like, you know, the Todd McShays and the other draftologists, so to speak. But they kind of look at these guys and say, okay, what do you need? But the cool thing is when you start to go through this and you look at what the needs are for those around you, you look at like what the Bears need a quarterback. They picked up Andy Dalton. Mitch Trubisky signs with Buffalo. And don't forget Nick Foles acquired last year. He's going to return. He struggled when he was given the chance for the Bears. So they still need to really solidify their quarterback position, but they're not going to take one in the draft, at least unless things, if things go goofy and they fall to you, then it is what it is. But I don't think they're going to do that. But they do need offensive linemen. The often injured right tackle, Bobby Massey, slated to be released, and the Bears signed Elijah Wilkinson from Denver to replace him. You've got other guys. Charles Leno returns at left tackle with the backup of Jason Spriggs, currently unsigned. Jason Spriggs, remember the Packers, former unsigned tackle. He ended up going out of Chicago. His injuries and COVID kind of occurred. The Bears had to shuffle players at guard and center and tackle last year in the interior line. Received some solid play for the most part, but Virginia, they had some Cody Whitehair was solid at center. But they need some offensive line help, big time. They also, their defensive back, former All-Pro Kyle Fuller, released and re-signed with Denver. Desmond Trufant, a Detroit cap casualty, was signed as his replacement. The backup, Atari Burns, recently signed as well. At the other corner, rookie. You've got, or at the other corner, I should say, rookie Jason Johnson. He played well and should continue to get a little bit better, but they could also use some more defensive back help, another wide receiver. Tight end Jimmy Graham continued to show receiver skills. He's going to be back with the team this year. But if you start to go through the list of what they need, kind of the top list of the needs of the Chicago Bears. Also, don't forget the Detroit Lions we're going to talk about with Dan Miller, the voice of Lions, coming up here at the bottom of the hour. So we'll continue to look around the NFL draft and what team needs are. Maybe not who they're going to take, but what team needs are as we kind of go through this. Let's see here. Who else we got? This is from Dustin, a huge Cubs fan here, but have to give Milwaukee credit. Their pitching staff is legit. I would take any one of their starters at this point over anyone but Arrieta. Arrieta is at least showing some signs, but yeah, you're right. Everybody else is struggling. Limo Joe, what's happening, buddy? Good to hear from you. Got one here. How worried are you about the series when they lost on Friday 15-2? I wasn't, because again, if you win 25-2, it doesn't matter. It's one game. And now if you lose 2 or 3 games in a row by 15-2, then yeah, I completely get it. But otherwise, no, you're not worried by one game. One game, you know what? There are nights like that where guys just hit. Guys just hit. It is what it is. Sometimes teams just, it's just, the old adage is hitting becomes contagious. And every now and then you'll have one of those nights, one of those days where just everybody's on, where it just, there's just, I can't explain it. It's one of those you can't put a sabermetric to it. It's just everybody hits for whatever reason. They're just in the zone. It's just a feel good day in the clubhouse. You come out and you start raking for whatever reason. It is what it is. That's why you can't put a lot into a 15-2 beatdown, because it was one game. And then you come back and you get beat twice in succession. And you still lose a game to the Brewers even after you flex your muscles on a 15-2 win. So that's why I say it doesn't matter. If the Brewers get if the Brewers put up 20 runs in one game and beat a team 20-1, that's fantastic. But if they put up 15 the next day and 10 the next day, then that team is really starting to rake. But if they win 20-1 and then 2-1 and then lose 3-1, then, they didn't do the job, so to speak, because the hitting wasn't consistent. It was just one day. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hang in there. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show, which is coming up. Don't forget, coming up after the bottom of the hour, going to talk with our buddy Dan Miller. Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions. He's going to be joining us. We'll talk with him about what the Lions may be looking for when the draft comes about, coming up this Thursday night and beyond. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Brewers get a win. Yelich still a bit of a concern, but hey, they're up. They're up in the win column, and that's what matters. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. This one's from Kyle. Says, how stupid do you think the Cubs felt after throwing at Woodruff with their pitchers and what they did yesterday? You know what? I was waiting for tempers to really flare. And kudos to the Brewers because they didn't. And again, it's not the Craig Counsell way, so to speak. But which to much, of the chagrin of some Brewers fans. I mean, because the Brewers fans would love to see, some of the we'll say the spunk and or the fire, if you will, of the Brewers kind of come forward. But nevertheless, look, hey, I'm good with that. As long as you're winning, it is what it is. As long as you're winning. So Brewers continue to win. Brewers get 2 out of 3. As long as they keep doing that. I will say this, though. When they went up and in on Robertson, and it was legitimately a pitch that got away, because there's no way in the world that they ever meant to hit him in the head like that and take his helmet off. Holy mackerel, that was a scary, scary moment yesterday. It was good to see him bounce back. It was good to see him go to first. Good to see Urias get the single to center, scoring Jackie Bradley Jr. and McKinney. And so it was, and Robertson goes to second. Didn't have any really the effects of the hit into the head. So when you talk about throwing at guys yesterday, for those Brewers fans that wanted to see some kind of retaliation, you know what? No, that was one that legitimately just got away. Just got away. And that's one that, and again, they did not throw at Robertson intentionally, but that was one where you looked at it and I just watched Twitter blow up where they said, people were just going crazy saying, you got to go back after the Cubs. And so remember, Contreras was the guy that got hit in the head the first time these two teams met. And Contreras was right there, kind of seeing if Robertson was okay. I mean, that was one that legitimately just got away. So the beanball thing, hey, win the game. Win the game. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. How are we looking? Hopefully you're enjoying the day. This was from Arthur. Arthur says, great program. He says, I do enjoy all of the draft talk. I'd like to find out more information about players who could possibly come and help out the Green Bay Packers and who is good enough to help out some of our opponents. I hope they always take some of the guys that nobody thinks highly of. Which, again, when you talk NFL draft, I know, look, I don't know. Is there a website out there? Can anybody look? And I've never thought of even looking this up. I know that I like Our Lad's draft guide only for the fact that it gives you all the information about all the players you chose. And you can go back over the years and kind of look and say, okay, what did they think of this guy and see what his weaknesses are? Critical. They'll kind of go, oh, okay, they did say this about this guy, that there was this cautionary tale here. Okay. So I don't know if it's the Mel Kipers, Todd McShay's, or any other mock draft. When like Pro Football Focus just sent me their latest mock draft. It just came out seconds ago. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but the kid out of Notre Dame, Owusu Koromoa, they got him going to the Green Bay Packers, the linebacker. And they say he fits really good in the college to pro projection. He's comparable to, say, KJ Wright or Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis, Roquan Smith, which if that's the case in coverage, if that's the case, yeah, that'd be a benefit to that Green Bay Packers defense. And the Packers haven't had a linebacker anywhere close to this good since they won the Super Bowl. And that's been a while. So they continually say that this is the guy that could end up in Green Bay. And if that's the case, I'll take it. I know it may not be a terrifically, kind of wildly enthusiastic pick for many, But if he's that kind of a coverage guy, I'll take that in a heartbeat. You put him in the same category as a Navarro Bowman or a Patrick Willis? Hell yes. Even a Roquan Smith, who's really developed into a nice player for Chicago? Yeah. Take that in a heartbeat if that works out. Yeah, absolutely. Just before the Green Bay Packers, they got the wide receiver Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. Now, I like Moore too. So if he ends up falling to 29th, I would not have a problem at all. If he ends up falling to the Green Bay Packers, there's a lot of comparisons to him and Tyler Lockett. If you're going to say, who does he kind of remind you of, the way he plays and what he can do? Many say Tyler Lockett. So that's another guy that would be there around the time the Green Bay Packers pick. There's Dylan Raduns, the kid out of North Dakota State. He's a guy that's going to be there probably right around the time the Packers pick. There's the safety Trevon Moehrig out of TCU, the wide receiver Rondell Moore out of Purdue. There's the offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State, the wide receiver Terrence Marshall coming out of LSU. So there's going to be some talent that's highly thought of that's still going, at least according to many, that's still going to be there by the time the Green Bay Packers pick. So exciting stuff. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, do it. You can also follow us on the Bud Light live stream. Thanks to Bud Light for being the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. You can find us on the live stream each and every broadcast. If you want to watch the show, you can do that over on Twitter, over on YouTube, Twitch as well, Facebook Live, over on the Facebook fan page. So good stuff there. Find us over there. This one's from Anthony. Anthony says, taking 2 out of 3 from the Chubs is always awesome. Brewers lead in the National League Central continues to increase. How good do you think the Cardinals are? Well, remember, I said at the beginning of the season, when you went back to predictions, I thought the Cardinals were going to be a 90-win team. The Brewers would be about 88. And I thought the Brewers would end up just behind the Cardinals in the National League Central. Now, right now, the Cardinals were in the bottom. And then over the weekend, they win 3 straight because they went from the last spot in the National League Central to now the second spot in the National League Central, just for the fact that everybody's kind of jumbled within 4 games. I mean, the Brewers are 4 games up on Cincinnati, but you got the Cubs 3 back, 2.5 back for Pittsburgh, and 2 back for St. Louis. And I don't think St. Louis is just going to fade away. But I will say this. Remember, we were talking about runs scored and run differential. And in the beginning of the season, it was really it was a little bit concerning for what the Brewers had. Brewers are now, they've scored 91. The Cardinals have scored 97, by the way. But the Brewers are plus 18. They lead their division. And as a matter of fact, they are plus 18, which is second best only to the Dodgers in the entire National League. Think about that, from where they were to where they are. From where they were to where they are. The only other teams better than them in all of Major League Baseball, the White Sox are plus 21 at 12-9 on the season and a game and a half behind the Kansas City Royals. And then the Boston Red Sox are plus 20. They're 14-9 on the season, and they lead the American League East by a couple of games, 2.5 games, as a matter of fact, over the Tampa Bay Rays. So the Brewers, who really struggled early on offensively, have put together a little bit of a nice stretch. It's been tremendous pitching and obviously the ability to score some runs relatively consistently. And all of a sudden now, don't look now, but second best in the National League, fifth best fifth best in all of baseball when it comes to run differential. Not a bad way to go. So when we come back, let's do this. We're going to kind of deviate a little bit from baseball, as when we come back, we're going to talk to Dan Miller. He is the voice of the Detroit Lions, and he's going to give us the lowdown as to what the Lions are looking to do come the NFL draft. Stay tuned. We got more Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Lay down.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show continues on. The first sign of change inside the Detroit Lions organization going back to December. Chris Spielman hired as a special assistant to CEO Rod Wood, and the first sign of significant change occurred when the team then hired former Rams director of college scouting, Brad Holmes, as their new GM. Holmes helped kind of draft the likes of Aaron Darnold and Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, and then the former Detroit Lions tight end, Dan Campbell, comes in, motivator and somebody who understands the culture and the new regime and such. they got all kinds of good stuff going on over in Detroit, and they're kind of putting at least attempting to put the train back on the tracks. And so joining us now on the hotline, our good buddy Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Bill?
I am doing great. So a lot of new faces, some old, some new, but nevertheless trying to breathe a different life, a different culture over in Detroit. So tell me, just give me your thoughts and kind of like a Cliff Notes version as to where the Lions are right now.
Well, I think they're in the midst of a significant rebuild. They call it a retool. We can call it whatever you'd like. But I think if you look at the moves that they've made and listen to what they've said, they understand they're not a player or two away from winning. They're not a player or two away from contending. They know this is going to be a process that's going to take an off season or two to put back together. And you obviously need some luck to speed that up. But I think that if you look at what they've done so far in terms of signing players, they've really all been short-term contracts. Very rare that they've given 2 years. Most have been 1 year, prove-it type deals. They traded Matthew Stafford, which is your biggest sign of all, that they were going to go in a different direction, and let Kenny Galladay go, let Marvin Jones go. So it's, I think, a group that's come in and said, look, we need to redo this thing, take it down to the studs, do it the right way, and not try to piecemeal this thing together like we've seen from some other regimes in the past. So will it work? I don't know. You have to be right when you select these players. They're building assets in terms of getting draft picks, but it is ultimately one of those things where only time will tell, but you can see what they're attempting to do.
What is and you and I talk about this every year, it seems like defensive back still is somewhat of a need for this team. Is that the priority right now? Or when you look at this team and the way it is built or going to be built, I go back to when Ted Thompson first took over the Green Bay Packers. His first few drafts were strictly just whatever the best available player was there, that's who we're taking, because you can never have too many quality players and playmakers on the field. Is that the kind of the thought process right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, their defense needs a lot of work at every level. And offensively, they've got some holes. But I think you are early enough in this thing, and your roster is thin enough that the reality is you have to say, we need to draft the best player. And we need to start building our roster with the best players possible. And we can get specific maybe next off season when we identify needs and start building through free agency to fill those holes and finish out this team that we're putting together. And that would be them looking at it. Look, number 7, they could certainly they could make a case to draft a lineman. They could make a case to draft a wide receiver. They could make a case to draft a hybrid wide receiver tight end if Pitts was sitting there, which he won't be. But they could make a case to draft a defensive back, linebacker. I mean, there's really so many different ways they can go, just depending upon how the board breaks. And if there's a quarterback sitting there that somebody wants, I think they'd be more than happy to drop back a couple picks, pick up some other assets, and just try to build this roster that way. So they've got options, but your observation and the way that the Packers did it, I think, is the way that they will do it. They're not going to pin themselves in and drop down their board because they need X, because they need a whole lot more than just X. They've got a boat full of needs that they need to fill. And the best way to do that is to get the absolute best football players you can.
Talking with Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions. You go to Jared Goff in the trade and Matthew Stafford moving on. Now, clearly you can tell that L.A. is looking to upgrade the quarterback position, and they feel they're only a player or two away. On the opposite side, Goff has had some experience, obviously going to a Super Bowl, but what do you expect out of him as this team tries to rebuild? It's very difficult for a young quarterback to be a part of a rebuild and excel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And look, I don't know exactly what to expect out of him other than I believe he's going to get a real chance to be the quarterback here. Remember, Brad Holmes drafted him in Los Angeles. And Ray Agnew, who is Brad Holmes' second in command, came from Los Angeles. So these guys know exactly what they were getting in Jared Goff. I do think they want to give him a chance at the age of 26 to prove that he can be the Lions quarterback. I think they believe a lot of the reasons that he was drafted number 1 overall are still there. Not that some works haven't developed or that he has some things to work on, because he does. But I think they feel like if they can take this deal, pick up 2 number 1s plus more draft capital, and potentially get their starting quarterback out of it and not have to utilize some other assets to get that quarterback there in good shape. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but I do think he's going to get at least this year to show them what he can do. Will I be surprised if they draft a quarterback at number 7? I would be, yeah, based on what I've seen and what I've heard. But again, not shocked. We don't know these guys real well yet. So I think that there's one of these situations where they know the player. They went and took the player and his contract and then redid his contract, and all those things add up to Jared Goff getting some time here in Detroit.
What is the expectation? Because the fans have been through so much, and last year was a weird year, obviously, with fans really not being in the stands. But what is the vibe in Detroit right now? Is this palm to forehead going, here we go again?
No, I think it's more optimism. I think it is. Look, in the world of sports, change is hope. Drafts are hope, and all fans want is a reason to have hope. And these guys have come in, not sold a line to everybody about how close they are. They said, look, we're not that close, and we have work to do. And all you have to do is look at the product from the last 3 to 5 years and know that it wasn't good. The defense was horribly bad, historically bad. So nobody can come in here and throw a bow tie on well, we'll leave that out. But nobody can come in here and put a bow on this thing and tell you it's a tuxedo. It's just not. I mean, so I think fans here are saying, okay, you've got your time. We hear your plan. It's a solid plan. It's really the only plan that anybody could believe is even remotely viable, because you can't build a team through free agency in this league, and you only have so many draft picks. So this is going to take some time. So they've sold it well. And I think fans are saying, okay, we see what you're selling here, and we like what you're selling. So let's do this. And we've been through so many regimes here that have kind of come in and said, okay, we have Matthew Stafford, so we can put this thing back together and put a couple of pieces here and there, and we're going to be okay. Well, it didn't work. And it was time for Matthew to go. Nothing against him at all. He gave everything he had here, did some really good things, but it didn't work. And he's going to be 33 years old. So it's time to move on to, plan A for another group. So I think overall, I think fans are excited by the opportunity to see something different and to see something built from the bottom up.
TJ Hawkins, you talk about some of the bright spots. You had mentioned the possibility of tight end, say, if somebody fell, but TJ Hawkinson started to shine. I started to see an emergence out of him. You got it, what you believe to be at least a decent running back core. Like you had mentioned, it's going to be a changeover at the wide receiving core. But there are some bright spots. It's not like the cupboard is completely bare in Detroit, right?
No, there's no question. I mean, if you look at the front where you've got Decker and Ragnow and Jonah Jackson had a real nice rookie season, those are 3 pieces they feel really good about on the offensive line. TJ Hawkinson is a terrific player. When I mentioned tight end, that was specifically to Pitts, who is a hybrid wide receiver tight end that you could very easily put on the field with TJ Hawkinson and, have that Patriots type of nightmare for defenses trying to deal with those 2 guys. And, Pitts doesn't run like a tight end. He runs like a wide receiver. So specifically to him, but, and then you mentioned the running backs. They feel good about where they are right there. Signing Jamal Williams, I think, was a little more depth for him, and I think they feel good about that. And then defensively, it gets a little murkier there. And I think that, you have last year's number 1 pick, Jeff Okudah. I think they like Amani Oruwariye and a lot of things that he's done. But he's got a long way to go. But I think they feel like they got 2 young corners there that they can work with. Tracy Walker's a guy that going into last year, people felt was ascending, into being a really good safety, but he took a step back. So he's got to get that thing back together. There's some pieces along the defensive line. John Pennicini had a really nice rookie season, looking like a contributor at defensive tackle, and Trey Flowers should be back healthy. So there are pieces around this team, but you need a lot more. And I think that's what they're looking at right now is trying to, say, okay, we do have some things here. We've got the makings of an offensive line. We've got the makings of a running back core. But we need to start filling out the rest of this team because you can't win with, this many holes that they have right now. And frankly, they haven't won in several years, and that's the reason why.
Dan, before I let you go, I just want to get your opinion. You've been around quite some time. You and I have talked a lot. Outside looking in with the Green Bay Packers, a lot of discussion about Aaron Rodgers, the contract that has not basically been restructured or extended. It seems like there's games of chicken going on. They haven't really done a whole lot. They don't have a lot of salary cap room for that matter. Does your gut say what the hell's going on over in Green Bay?
Look, I got a hard time being critical of anything they do there based on what's happened here. But I will say this. I've been doing this for a long time. He is one of the players I respect more than any other. I just have to think he is amazing. I think if you're doing anything that's going to drive him away, that's a mistake. I'm not privy to everything that's going on there. But if I have Aaron Rodgers and I see the way that he played last year, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that he's on my team, happy and playing until he shows me he can't play anymore or tells me he doesn't want to play anymore. So, yeah, I think sometimes, again, 100% not being privy to everything that's going on. But when I see that there is some sort of disconnect between Rodgers and the organization, I don't get that. Because players like that, you should always find a way to have peace with and get them out there because they don't come along very often. And I think he's a great player. Look, if they want to send him away, I'm all for it. Just get him out of the division. Get him someplace where I don't have to see him anymore because that guy has, done so many things to this team for so long. And, chief among them, that Hail Mary, which certainly probably took at least a year and a half off my life. So, look, we'll see how these things work out. You never really know what's going on behind closed doors, and it wouldn't be the first thing that makes us scratch our head in the world of sports.
Dan, it's always great to chat with you, pal. We'll talk to you soon, and stay well. We'll talk as the season starts to approach, okay?
You got it. Thanks, Bill. Be well.
Thanks, pal. Talk to you soon. There you go. Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions, joining us for a couple of minutes. And great stuff over in the Bud Light live stream as well. So good to talk to Dan and kind of get the lowdown as to what he thinks is going on over in Detroit and get a little outside perspective as to what he thinks is happening in Green Bay as well. But always good to talk to Dan. Dan's been such a friend of the show for such a long, long time. Thank him so much for being a part of it. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program, the Bill Michaels Show. We continue on thanks to our friends at Scholze Family Farms Beef. The family farm, located right here in the state of Wisconsin. And if you've got tailgate season that is now underway at your home, whether it's out on the patio or if you're going to be doing it maybe if you're going to be heading to the ballpark out in the parking lot anytime soon, maybe you can even do it there. But they have 4 flavors of brats: beef, blue cheese, pork, and beer brats. They have pre-formed hamburger patties. They've got the skinless hot dogs for the kids, snack sticks, jerky. That is all fantastic. They also have some great meats to be grilling with. And they got great steaks and chops and fillets and all that kind of good stuff for grilling. Plus, there's roasts, brisket, ribs, tomahawk ribeyes, if you want to smoke them. Also, the Fox Smokehouse barbecue sauce. You can slather up on those things. Salty provisions, seasonings. They put it all over their stuff for grilling also. So maybe you should pick some of that stuff up. But being a family farm, look, they love to have that special touch. You know, just a good Wisconsin down home type of feeling. And by the stop in. Say, you can check out the farm store. They have one right there in Humbird, Wisconsin. Tell them we sent you. Say you heard it here. Stop on over in Humbird, Wisconsin, near the Black River Falls area. The ATV trails are open up in the area, so if you want to come on by and have that case in the back of the ATV, you can just stock up. But if you want delicious pasture-raised beef delivered right to your doorstep, you can order today and get it in a couple of days. So if you want to get something ready for the weekend, you're good to go. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That's Scholze, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. It's from their family farm to your family's table. Again, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. And if you want to order it, and even if you want to pick up kind of if you've never done it before, kind of like a sample pack just to see everything they have to offer, you can do that as well and start out in that fashion. So a lot of good stuff from our friends at Scholze Family Farms Beef. ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That's ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. Coming up the next hour, baseball. I want to talk a little bit about baseball and showmanship, if you will. Also, the Bucks get the back-to-back wins over Philadelphia, and you're flying high. You're like, this is, man, and they just beat it. Now, granted, Joel Embiid did not play on Saturday. Okay, so I understand that. No Joel Embiid, no Ben Simmons. So they beat the Pistons in back-to-back games, and then they go to Atlanta, and you're like, okay, look, they're flying high now. This is going to happen, and then lay an egg right in Atlanta. 111-104, they get knocked off just as they start to make the climb. And Giannis still drops 31, 14 boards, 4 assists, tremendous game. Middleton gives you 23, but they came up short, hitting threes. Forbes 0 for 4, Teague 0 for 2. You know, Pat Connaughton 1 for 3 coming off of the bench when it came to 3-point shooting. DiVincenzo went 0 for. Holiday went 0 for. You only had 1 out of Lopez. He was 1 for 4. Giannis was 1 for 3. I mean, the guy that actually hit a few of them was Middleton. But A couple of plays late down the stretch just didn't fall. Driving the bucket quite a bit. Giannis was still, Giannis is Giannis on the inside, but a couple times they went inside, they lost the ball, and there's just way too much dribbling. Way too much dribbling. A couple of times Middleton, he ended up turning the ball over 3 times. 2 times, just that high dribble, that back down high dribble, and try to make a move to go to the basket. And I'm like screaming to myself, just pass the damn basketball and hit it beyond the arc, or at least get yourself that mid-range jumper. And they just kept dribbling the basketball. And fast hands. Collins had one. He had a swipe. Bogdanovich had a swipe. So it just fast hands in that ball game. And the Bucks ultimately fall to the Atlanta Hawks after coming off of a high from beating the Philadelphia 76ers, not once but twice in a row. They get beat 111-104. 111-104. And they lose a game in the East. The Bucks still 3.5 back behind the Brooklyn Nets, who have taken over the top spot. And Brooklyn got Durant back. Durant and Kyrie, they have been on, even though Harden's down, Durant and Kyrie, they've been on a little bit of a scoring streak, averaging 122 points per game when those two guys are together in a game. So, got to start paying attention. Got to put it together. You can go beat the good teams, but if you fall to the bad ones, it's not going to mean a hill of beans. I shouldn't say bad. Not that Atlanta's bad. Atlanta's right there at number 5. They're 7 games back, and they've got a plus 500 record, but come on. Let's do this. We'll step away, take a quick break, and we'll come right back. Does baseball have a problem? I don't think so. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
It's another series win for the Milwaukee Brewers over the Chicago Cubs, as the Brewers would get 6 solid innings of work from Brandon Woodruff. He dropped his ERA to 1.55 on the season, as he allowed just 2 hits and struck out 8 batters while walking a pair in the Crew's 6-0 victory. Now, the Brewers offense wouldn't wake up till the 9th inning when Luis Urias drove in a pair of runs with a single that was followed by an RBI double from Colton Wong. Here's more from manager Craig Counsell on the Brewers, taking 6 of 9 from the Cubs so far this year.
With 2 of them being in Chicago, we've done our jobs. I don't think we can ask for anything more. Going 6-3 against them, when you play a team a lot, it's hard to beat them that much. You tend to split games more when you play a team a lot. So we played them tough.
The Crew is back at it tonight as they return home to American Family Field to take on the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:40. To the NBA, despite 31 points from Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Milwaukee Bucks would fall to the Atlanta Hawks 111-104 on the road. The Bucks currently sit at 37-23. That's good for 3rd in the Eastern Conference. They'll return to action tomorrow night when they're in Charlotte to take on the Hornets.
From the kennel to coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Cleveland, Ohio on Thursday night. Yes, we're just 3 days away from the NFL's draft, for the Green Bay Packers hold 10 picks, including the 29th in the first round. In his first 3 drafts, Packers GM Brian Gutekunst has traded. Will he do so a 4th? Well, we'll find out in a couple nights. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome back, one and all, and thanks to those of you paying attention to us over on the Bud Light live stream. Appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. The Brewers get a couple of wins over the Cubs after just getting shelled on Friday night. A lot of Cubs fans kind of flexing their muscles, and then after that, they took it. And I'm not disappointed in that. Fly the L, my friends. Fly the L. The Brewers right now hold a 2-game lead in the National League Central as the Cardinals go from the basement to the top spot just behind the Brewers. And you've got a little bit of a shift with the Cubs. The Reds right now in the basement. The Reds can't seem to gain a win for their life. Their bullpen absolutely stinks. It's just it beyond sucks. And you got the Pirates winning a few games, Cubs obviously losing over the weekend, so things shaking out in the National League Central. We're going to continue our look around the NFC. Around the NFC North, as we had Dan Miller, the voice of the Lions, on earlier, and Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic down in Chicago. He's going to be joining us later on today. We're going to talk with him about the Bears and their needs. So that's going to be a must listen, because as the Bears Bears without Mitch Trubisky, they bring in Andy Dalton. They still have Nick Foles. So we'll see if their quarterback play gives them any kind of elevation to make that team a better football team. We'll talk with him coming up a little bit later on. By the way, Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast is going to be joining us tomorrow, along with Brian Billick. Brian Billick, the former Super Bowl winning head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, going to be joining us now with the NFL Network. He'll be here tomorrow as well. So a lot of good stuff coming up on the program. In the meantime, the Bucs, they win 2 against Philadelphia, and then they promptly go out and get beat by Atlanta. And Atlanta 34-27. Atlanta's no slouch, but they're not considered to be one of the top teams in the East. I mean, it's Brooklyn 76ers and the Bucs. Those are the 3 teams. And the fact that you've got KD back, Kyrie back, and those two look pretty healthy. When those two are on the floor together, they're averaging 122 points per game, which is better than what the Bucs are averaging at 119.3. So that still appears to be, at least for the most part, the team that everybody seems to think is going to win the East, if indeed they are back and they are healthy. Now, again, once you get James Harden back, how many basketballs do you have go around? We'll wait and see if the chemistry's still the same, because that team has not been able to stay healthy together all season long. But it is a little disheartening for the Brewers to win, or the Bucs to win back-to-backs over Philadelphia. Now, granted, they did it, and they beat the hell out of Philadelphia on Saturday without Embiid, and then promptly on Sunday go out and lose to the Atlanta Hawks. But you know, I mean, you were flying high, and then you kind of let everything down. It's kind of fell from there. 877-867-1670. In the meantime, baseball. Now, one of the questions came up. I don't know if you saw Tatis Jr. and some of the showboating going on as he hit not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 home runs over the weekend against the Dodgers. The controversy came from some of the showboating towards his dugout. He wasn't really showing up the Dodgers, but more so kind of the enthusiasm, we'll say, with some of the actions between him and his teammates. And I've always said, look, it's one thing if you flip the bat and you stare down a pitcher and you're bad-mouthing the cat. Okay, that's one thing. It's another thing if you're doing something with your guys. And most players will tell you, if you don't like it, beat them. Just beat them. Trevor Bauer, the pitcher for the Dodgers, said, look, guys that get upset about this, they're soft. And which he's now taken a little bit of heat for that. But he's right to a certain extent. If that bothers you, and that's what you're worried about when a guy like Tatis Jr. comes up, then he's already in your head. And then to a certain extent, you are soft. So I think baseball, remember the ad they had, was it last year or the year before, when it was Let the Kids Play? And they showed all the bat flips and the guys hopping and the clapping and all the different things guys are doing in the dugouts, and just to make the game a little more energetic. Look, baseball's got its own image problem anyway. You know, I think the NFL even went a little laxed when they said, hey, let's loosen up some of the rules on these, end zone celebrations. And you know what I mean? When they started to look into this, and they said, we really should allow some of the personality of the game to come out. And they started to do that, and it's been pretty fun. I think we all enjoyed the creativity of many teams when they scored. And baseball, there was, for a long time, and look, I'm as old school as anybody, they had some of the unwritten rules, some things you did not do. And again, if you're going to do it, then expect some type of retaliation. Trevor Bauer, Clayton Kershaw, those guys, look, they could throw at you at any second. They could hit you in the leg, hit you in the butt, hit you in the back. They don't have to take it either. But I think it's great for the personality of baseball. You know? I think it's great for the personality of baseball. I don't think baseball allows enough of that. What you don't want is guys to get hurt. But if you're going to have rivalries, and rivalries, when you and I think of rivalry, we think of rivalry in the sense of, guys getting into bench clearing brawls and not liking one another. And, that kind of thing. It's a ferocious rivalry. Money, agents, all of that, be damned. Throw it out the window. You like a good personality. Fernando Tatis Jr. takes Clayton Kershaw deep on Friday night. Doesn't do a lot when it comes to showboating. But, then comes Saturday, he blasts another one, and he's flexing up and everything, and people are watching it, getting excited, getting into the rivalry. But remember, he turns first base, and, he's kind of showboating back to his guys. Then went and jacked another one, and that's when things began to happen. I'm all for it. I'm all for the personality of baseball, rivalries in baseball. I will say this, though, that there are, when it comes to like the discussion of the Padres and the Dodgers, I don't know if you saw that earlier today. They're now promoting this as the best rivalry in baseball. No, the best. We're very much prisoners of the moment. It's not the best rivalry in baseball. I think for a long time is always going to be Boston and New York. And now that Boston's back on top of the American League, better. Because Boston was in the basement last year in a shortened season. And it's always been the Dodgers and the Giants and the Cardinals and the Cubs. Those were the rivalries. Those have been good rivalries. For years, it was the Reds and the Dodgers, but then they changed, they did the radical realignment, and it really took away from the luster of that rivalry. But the Brewers and the Cubs to a certain extent. I mean, the Cubs fans, they look at the Cardinals as their rival, while the Brewers look at the Cubs as theirs. The only thing about the Brewery that became fan antagonistic is the fact that the fans from Chicago come so dramatically into American League Field and somewhat take over, and they know it, and it's only 80 miles away. And it's like sandpaper underwear. They just love to irritate the hell out of you. Kanger says, would you rather see a batter showboat after hitting a home run or take a sweet-ass time rounding the bases? I think, again, if you're showboating and you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it with teammates, I don't have a problem with it. Stop them. But if you're doing it to show up the other pitcher or to show up, so to speak, the other team, then expect to be plunked. There's a lot of these, quote, unwritten rules. We talk about the unwritten rule book all the time in Major League Baseball. There's a lot of unwritten rules. And I think the unwritten rule in baseball is if you are going to do anything to showboat and or show up your opponent, you can expect to be plunked. And in today's day and age, managers aren't as quick to do. There's not a lot of old school managers that are still out there. More and more of them think like Craig Counsell. Hey, just win the game. Let's win the game. If we got the game in hand, there might be some type of retaliation later down the road, but the sweetest revenge is walking away with a W. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Would you like to see more personality in baseball? And if you're a baseball fan, would it make you watch more? I mean, I know one thing. The next time the Padres and the Dodgers play, it's almost destinational viewing. It's almost destinational viewing. Just because of the excitement that game brings. The anticipation. It's like going to NASCAR. you're going to watch a race, but there's that chance that big one could break out. That big smoke everywhere, flames in the air, cars flipping over type of crash. That big one could break out at any point in time. Same thing with baseball. If you get that kind of a rivalry, it could break out at any point in time. Usually if it's with the Cardinals, then Yadier Molina is somewhere in the mix. And everybody loves to hate that guy if you're not a Cardinals fan. So it can always happen. It can always break out. I think that's good for baseball. I think it's good for rivalries. You go back to years and years and years of angst between the Red Sox and the Yankees. Specifically when both teams were vying for the top spot in the American League East. You go all the way back to when Pedro Martinez bounced like a basketball, Don Zimmer right across the greenery right there. Threw him to the ground. Now, Zim was an old dude at the time and probably shouldn't have jumped into the scrum, but he was a scrappy guy. Give him credit. Growing up in the west side of Cincinnati in Western Hills High School, the home of one Pete Rose, he was a scrappy dude. He wanted to go out and kind of lay down some wood with Pedro Martinez. He just didn't realize that Pedro Martinez was a little bit younger, a little bit stronger, and he got head bounced across the field. Michael says, I will find myself watching Major League Baseball games if there's a chance that sparks could fly. That's what I'm saying. It's not bad for baseball. Now, you don't want to, you don't want to go to a baseball game and the old adage is I went to a fight and a baseball game broke out. You don't want to have that, the continual stoppage of play. But it certainly adds an element of pleasant anxiety of what may or may not happen to the ball game itself, right? So baseball, do they have a problem with showboating? I don't think so. But see, I'm of the belief of showboat, do whatever you want. But if you do it beyond a certain line, you might get hit. You might take one right in the rear end next time up. Go for it. Do what you do. You be you. But you may get hit right square crack of your ass next time you're in the batter's box. Or somebody around you may pay the price for it as well. And I like it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Are you more apt to watch Major League Baseball if you got a little more showboating and a little more opportunity for something to break out? A scrum, a fight, an argument, bench clearing, whatever it happens to be. Are you a little more apt to watch Major League Baseball and pay attention to it if it happens? Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show is next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show continues on. Hopefully you're enjoying your day. Hey, we want to say thanks to our good friends at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson, just south of 94 on Highway 67 in Oconomowoc. They're going to be a fine sponsor of the program. Going to be doing some stuff with them this year as well. So if you are looking for a Harley, if you're looking for a good deal on a Harley, if you're looking for a 2021 or the biggest inventory of used Harleys, or the best dealership as voted on by Harley Corporate in the state of Wisconsin, get a hold of our friends at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson on 94, just south of Highway 67 in Oconomowoc, kind of halfway, a little bit less than halfway, actually, a little more towards Milwaukee, but about halfway between Milwaukee and Madison. If you're out there in the Madison area, or anywhere else for that matter, if you're looking for a Harley, I mean, people drive from all over to find the Harley of their dreams. And not to mention good service. And when you talk about being the party place, party central for the riding season of 2021, they got the biggest parking lot, the biggest stages, the best bands, by far the best place to go. And again, say hi to my buddy Craig. He is the GM out there. And he's hooking you up right. He's hooking you up right. Thanks for watching over on the Bud Light live stream. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sport Talk Network. Matthew says, to be honest, I would watch more baseball if it was a higher scoring game. I personally want to see the hardest baseballs out there and watch 9 to 8 nail biters with 12 combined home runs instead of 1-0 pitchers duels. I understand scoring breeds viewership. But I do appreciate a good 1-0 pitcher's duel when it's your pitcher going out there and firing off the shutout. There is something to that art that you have to appreciate. I don't think enough people do. But I do, going back to the personality of Major League Baseball, I do appreciate the personality of baseball. I like it. And I'd like to see more of the personality of some of the stars show through. Don't force it. I mean, if it's not who you are, it's not who you are. Who cares? But I do appreciate kind of the stars and Fernando Tatis Jr. and the antics and such, and watching some of these guys do a little showboat, if you will. 877-867-1670. Chris says Major League Baseball will not allow it to add to the game. Look at Castellano's suspension. They nip everything before it even starts, so every rivalry is watered down with less intensity. Even the Red Sox and Yankees seem all chummy these days. Yeah, I know, right? You're right about the Castellano suspension. He didn't even do anything. He got up and flexed up, and that was after they kind of shoved him to the ground while he was on the ground. But again, it's always Yachty or Molina that's in the mix. Molina's always got something to do with that. That's a guy you love to hate. You know? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Now, I'm old school. Rowdy back in the studio, more young school. Rowdy, you like more personality in baseball, or you like it kind of the old school way?
See, me and Ebo, we had this discussion earlier this morning, and I'm in the middle. Now, I'm a younger guy, but I kind of have an older soul when it comes to the unwritten rules of baseball. My biggest thing with the unwritten rules of baseball and showing people up is if you're going to give it, you got to take it, right? So if you can dish it out, you got to be able to take it. So if Trevor Bauer wants to go out there and Trevor Bauer wants to do the Conor McGregor walk off the mound and all these other type of celebrations when he strikes guys out or does whatever he does, then when you have Tatis Jr. come out and showboat and do what he's coming back at Trevor Bauer, then that's fine with me because if you give it, you got to take it. Now, on the flip side, if you have more of a Madison Bumgarner guy out there who's kind of old school, quiet, just goes about his business, not a ton of emotion when he strikes you out versus when he gives up a home run, and then you start showing him up, that's where I think you're going to get one in the back, and I think it's kind of justified. Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I like that. I like the fact that if you're going to have, tempers flare and intensity heat up, I agree with you. If you're going to showboat, you're going to show somebody up. You expect one in the back, expect one in the ass, expect one in the back of the shoulder, head, whatever. If it gets away, but you're gonna eventually take one, or guys around you are going to take it. That's the other thing. If I'm a guy that's batting behind this cat, like if I'm batting behind Tatis Jr., I may expect one in my ear hole. Oh, for sure. I think it just comes down to respect, because if you see that I'm not a guy that's going to be showboating while I'm on the mound, or vice versa, if I'm not a big showboater with huge bat flips and I just, hit my walk-off home run, put my head down and jog around the bases and do a little team celebration afterwards because we just won a game, then I don't expect you to do the celebrating when you strike me out. I think it's a mutual respect where if one guy is a certain way, then you should probably do the same. That's why I feel like I'm in the middle. Yeah, because I'm not 100% against it, but I'm not 100% for it. I think there's got to be a almost like an agreement. I completely agree. I think more of this in baseball is good for baseball. When you're looking for something else to excite fans, I think the intensity is now increased between the Padres and the Dodgers. That's good. That's almost must-see TV. I think anytime you play the Cardinals, you always have that Yadier Molina factor seep in where you can always break something out. I like I was never that way, but I do like it now. I find myself at least a little bit more intrigued about the game itself. I wanted to touch base because you're kind of a betting guy. Have you putting any ducats down on the Kentucky Derby? Bill, a horse guy, so a ton of. Only time I ever wagered on a Kentucky Derby was in college, and all I remember is just put some money down on California Chrome. That's about as much as I get into horses. I'm not a big bettor when it comes to racing like that. I have gone to the track a few times, and the one time that I ever did hit serious money, and I'm talking like for me at the time, it was like $200. The one time I ever did that, I actually won a trifecta, and it was kind of like a mic drop. And that was like, okay, I'm done. That was it. Because I would get way too into that and become too addicted too quick. But it's fun to go to the tracks. Oh, it's great. I just don't know anything about it. Right. No, what I do is you start looking at jockeys. You find out the winning success for jockeys, and winning jockeys tend to follow winning horses or winning trainers. So then you start to realize, okay, who are some of the better jockeys out there? And that's usually who I bet on. Because they usually don't take jump horses. I have a buddy that lives in Dubuque, so I'll go down there every once in a while and, put some wagers on some sports and hang out with them. And we hung out at the dog track one night, and neither of us know anything about it. But I go, hey, why don't we throw down on this one? And I was seeing some of the dogs being walked out there, and then they have the names, and one of them had a name that somewhat resembled a nickname that I had in college. So I'm like, I'm going to put some money down on that one. Well, I should have known as they're walking out these greyhounds and whippets that the one with my name, it definitely fit because it was the smallest dog with the shortest legs. And I kid you not, when I saw that and they went out there, they started off, that thing got dead last, and I go, it just makes sense. Everybody else was greyhound. You're out there with a dachshund. Oh, the thing had like the shortest legs. It was the smallest dog, and it definitely came in last. Oh, that's fantastic. So now, do you do the Derby parties at all? We did one when I was in college. That was the one time that I actually did put some money down on something other than that one particular dog race. But other than that, I do enjoy going out to, like, there is a local place in the Madison area that they do like a Kentucky Derby like party. I don't dress up, but I'll go have a few beers there. So I've never been to really, I've been to down to Churchill. I've never been for the Kentucky Derby, but I've been to Churchill.
So there is a place here called the Iron Horse Hotel, and for years and years they had really a tremendous Kentucky Derby Day party, and they're not doing it this year because of COVID. But Milwaukee, you ever been to Milwaukee Brewing in the city of Milwaukee?
Milwaukee's a city that I've been to a few times, but not really in the city. It's like when I'm going to Milwaukee, and I know it doesn't really count, but it's like Brewer games, or I guess in the actual city was to visit a couple friends. And then for Bucks games.
So you guys, when you guys come to town, we need to do like a weekend where we can just kind of show you everything. So there's a place called Milwaukee Brewing. It's over by the old Pabst Brewery, and their rooftop patio overlooks the Fiserv Forum. It's beautiful up there. It's really cool. So they're opening everything up this weekend. They've got a glass ceiling called the Glass and Griddle. This place with garage doors and stuff. It's a restaurant. So the brewery's open. The Glass and Griddle's open. All the garage doors are going to be open. It's going to be 65 degrees here this weekend. And then the rooftop patio's open, and they're bringing flowers and everything, and they're having a huge derby party. I've never done this. So I went to, where else do you go to get flamboyant threads? I mean, if you're going to wear, Derby Day stuff. So there's this place in Milwaukee called Torrance's House of Threads, and it's really cool. It's really more flamboyant. What you're going to see more like celebrities and stuff type of wear. So I bought a cobalt blue suit. Blue is about as blue as you can get, short of being a neon blue, that have matching cobalt blue velvet shoes, and my own pink bow tie. I'm ready for my derby party. You guys ought to come over, man.
See, when I think Kentucky Derby, you think of all the more well-to-do people, all, dressed up all fancy. You got your professional athletes like Wes Welker sweating all over. I wonder why. But yeah, you have like your Packers are out there. Your Tom Brady's are all out there. They're all dressed pretty fancy. And then it just kind of reminds you of the Get Up and Dumb and Dumber. Yeah,
that's kind of it. I didn't go powder blue. I went like cobalt blue. I can't even describe what cobalt blue is. You'd almost have to just look it up. It's a bright, vibrant blue. It's got a little bit of a black plaid in it, or dark gray plaid in it, but white shirt, pink bow tie, cufflinks, the whole thing. I did not get the fedora because I was told by the guy at Torrance's House of Threads, you either wear the bow tie or the fedora. You don't wear both, otherwise it's overkill. I don't know why, but it is.
I would take his advice for that, because I'm definitely not the guy to ask for that type of advice either.
Do you know how to tie your own bow tie?
No.
I've never done it before. Not. I'm going to take an attempt at it. I was told, though, when I was out shopping for one yesterday, that you have to tie it by a, quote, gentleman's gentleman. When you go to tie your bow tie, it has to be imperfect. Because if you tie it perfect, you can buy a perfect bow tie. So you don't tie your bow tie perfect. You tie your bow tie perfectly imperfect.
See, I'm glad you brought up the dress too, because I'm not a fancy dresser pretty much ever, except for weddings and, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now that you brought up Milwaukee, one of the times that I did go to Milwaukee was for a Bucks game with a buddy. And then we ended up hanging out with some friends, and one of our girlfriends said, meet at this bar in in Milwaukee. And we had never heard of it. We don't do stuff in Milwaukee. And we went there, and you want to talk about being dressed up and out of place. When you're wearing jeans, a nicer like pullover, and like some boots, and you go into like a dance club.
Right.
Didn't know what we were walking into.
Yeah. Yep. I know. Hey, what club was it? Do you remember?
I think it was like Oak something.
Oak Barrel?
Oak Crest, Oakmont.
Okay. Oh, the Oakmont. Okay. All right.
It was definitely, we were underdressed. We'll just say that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Milwaukee is when you go, like when I was down in Florida, I was in Miami. We went for Super Bowl. Miami's decked out. I mean, you're dressing with the golds and the blings and the whole thing. Miami's decked out. Jeans and a dress shirt. That's a little underdressed, but the girls there are decked like they're going clubbing in New York, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Miami South Beach got a whole different vibe.
I'll say we were more dressed for, what is it, Irish Moe's or Moe's Irish Pub?
Moe's Irish Pub.
And yeah, so we went to the Irish Pub, and then is it Major Goolsby's? We were more dressed for that, not the club scene.
Yeah, the club scene in Milwaukee is good. It's not great, it's good. But when you go to Chicago, it's a whole different vibe. South Beach, a whole different vibe. LA, a way different vibe. That type of thing. But yeah, it's. You got to it's kind of like knowing the audience. You usually can't go wrong in Milwaukee with decent shoes, jeans, dress shirt, little bit watch or whatever on, and you're okay.
Now that was the same time that our girlfriend was the one that went to college there, and she was the one that told us to go to that bar that turned into a club. And it turns out that was one of the clubs that Eddie Lacy used to frequent because he liked their food. And he would sit in a corner with just like his. I don't remember. There was a couple of them, but supposedly the one we were at, Eddie Lacy loved to sit out, hang out in the corner with a bunch of big guys around him, eat food, and then tell a chick that he thought was attractive, what's up. And that was the spot. And all he was doing was eating and drinking, and it made sense when you saw him on the field.
Well, I knew that he used to hang out at Casablanca and do the hookah thing. So they have the hookah club over there. So we were just there actually a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, he used to sit there, and that's when he was first asked about what his favorite foods were in Milwaukee, and then he was talking about China food, which was his answer, which kind of made us all giggle. But yeah, so anyway, coming up, what you have to look forward to this weekend is pictures in the cobalt blue suit, either the pink or the yellow bow tie, and seeing if I can even do it right. But the shoes, velvet cobalt blue shoes. I don't think
a guy that doesn't dress that way, I do enjoy seeing like the different sports athletes and prominent figures show up there all up, tuned up to the nines.
Yeah, we'll see what the party ends up looking like. This is my first time ever doing it. Kristen, my girlfriend, she does this every year, and when we went there, because Torrance's House of Threads caters to both men and women, and she got one of the biggest hats I've ever seen. So she got the big hat.
My biggest question for you, Bill.
Yeah.
How are you going to react to this? Because I know you're not a fan of people getting up and standing up at Brewer games, but if these big hats are in front of you.
See, you expect this because you're going to like a pub and a tap room, and then you're going to be on you're not really going to be sitting there watching it on TV, except for, the TVs there are way above you. What I can't stand, it's not that I don't mind people walking in front of me. What I can't stand is people walking in front of you and not knowing the etiquette of the game as a fan. Because you don't stream the aisles during the game. You stream the aisles at inning breaks, in between innings. That's when you're supposed to stream the aisles. Because a lot of ballparks, they don't even let you. They hold you until the inning's over.
I hate the guy that has like all the kids in the family, and then he's back and forth.
Yes. And see, and I'll even understand that as long as it's at the right time. That's my biggest thing. And how many times, there's been times where I've been to a Bucks game and some places, as you go back down to your seat, they'll hold you until there's a break in the action. Other places have let you go. There's been a couple of times where big buckets I missed because there was a guy like trying to get back through the seats in front of me where you're kind of doing that head thing side to side to go, did it go in? And then you hear everybody go crazy. And you're like, damn it, I missed it. And that's because there's an etiquette as a fan. You have an etiquette to other fans to be able to know when you should be and should not be standing up and blocking views. So I put that up. People got so bent out of shape. And it was funny because old school people understood it. Young people who really didn't give two craps about it thought it was no big deal to somebody yelling, get off my lawn. And that's the difference in etiquette between people and between, I guess, eras, if you will, as to what you're supposed to do as a fan. Some etiquette you have it's kind of like when you're at Lambeau Field. You don't scream and cheer and go crazy when your offense is on the field. You don't make it difficult for your offense.
I just feel like for the Kentucky Derby, I might just struggle with seeing everything when you got those big hats everywhere.
See, yeah, I know, I get that. If everybody's standing,
you're a little higher up than me, though.
But if I'm at the Derby and I've got a bunch of people with big hats, no, I'm trying to go see the Derby. I want to see what I'm paying for because I know the horses are going to run and I want to go be able to see that. I'm trying not to look over a big hat. But if we're like where we're going, I know the TVs are up. They're about 7 feet in the air. So I know I'll at least be able to look up and see the Derby. And now maybe I'm taking a drink of whatever, beverage they happen to have, and somebody hits me in the face or the hand with one of those big ass hats, then, maybe I got a different thought, especially if you're knocking it all over my cobalt blue suit. But other than that, I'm not bad. We're late for a break. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What do you know, buddy?
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show back. Welcome back to the program. Hopefully you're enjoying your day on this Monday. Weather's going to start warming up into the 80s, it looks like, tomorrow. So get out and enjoy it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up? Do it. Love to hear from you. You can find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. And you can also find us over on Facebook, the Facebook fan page. Go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show, facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. You can also find us over on YouTube and on Twitch TV. You can subscribe and like and all that kind of good stuff for free. And thanks so much. The original at treating guys with ED, erectile dysfunction, that is New Male Medical Center. Now, others have come along. We know that, but there's only one. That's the New Male Medical Center, the medical experts over there helping guys with ED. They've got a 98% success rate. That is 98%, all but guaranteeing that they can help you out in that particular area. When it comes to low energy or brain fog, or if you're just feeling sluggish and run down and moody, whatever it happens to be, could be low T, something that I went there for. They kind of helped me out with. It's been good. It's been great, as a matter of fact. And then what they call the COVID-10, COVID-20, COVID-30, whatever it happens to be. If you've been putting on weight, you want to start feeling better and looking better, they can help you out with that as well. And it works. Yes, it works. Call my guys over there at New Male Medical Center. Check them out. Milwaukee and Green Bay locations, 414-455-4451. That is 414-455-4451. Kinger says, isn't it required by law to drink a mint julep if you attend a Kentucky Derby? It might be. I don't know. Not a mint julep fan, be honest with you. I just am not. I would rather sit there. If I'm going to drink something sweet, I'm going to drink cider or something. I'm just there hanging out, you know. Todd saying preach on. Todd, I'm not quite sure if you're talking about the Kentucky Derby, if you're talking about the discussion regarding fans going up and down the aisles during the game, but regardless, appreciate it, man. Thanks for listening. Chris says there is never a perfectly tied bow tie. You're correct, unless, of course, you're buying one. If you buy one that's pre-tied, that's when they say that's how you can tell. And as far as bow ties not being hard to tie, I've never tied one. I'm about to find out. So if I end up dead come Saturday afternoon, it's because I tied it a little too tight. I asphyxiated myself. Game over. Nice. Let's do this. We're going to step away because we were woefully late for a break before. We got to get back on track. So we'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. A lot more I want to get into. A lot more discussion regarding Major League Baseball. Don't forget, coming up a little bit later on the show as well, we're going to talk to Kevin Fishbane. He is from The Athletic as we continue our look around the NFC North, getting ready for the NFL draft on Thursday. We'll talk to him about what the Bears need and what they're going to be looking for as well. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella, don't you just love fresh air and sunshine? It's so stimulating.
Absolutely. You know, Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin is in the fresh air and sunshine business.
Since when?
Since forever.
Seriously?
Think about it. By upgrading with Pella replacement windows, you can let the sun shine in as much as you want with blinds and shades between the glass.
And Pella's available roll screen lets you get a breath of fresh air when you need one. Then it rolls away out of sight when you don't.
Very stimulating.
Hey, wouldn't it be smart to use the latest stimulus check or your tax refund to invest in energy-efficient Pella windows and doors?
That's a great idea, especially now. Order by April 30th and get 6-year no-interest financing.
Pella now, pay later. Now that's a stimulating breath of fresh air.
Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Program. Bill Michaels Show continues on, and we are glad you're with us. Thanks for hanging out today on a Monday, talking about the Brewers. Brewers get a couple of wins over the weekend, and they won 5 out of 6 on the road trip. They are now still, I shouldn't say now, but still on top of the National League Central by a couple of games over the Cardinals, and it was nice to see them fly the L a couple of times when it came to beating the Cubs. And then in addition to that, you've got some draft talk. We're going to continue our look, if you will, around the rest of the NFL Central, or the NFL North, the NFC North. As we already talked to Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions, and we'll talk to Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic. He covers the Bears. That's coming up a little bit later on in the show today as well. Just a lot of different stuff that we kind of got into, and some of the stuff we got a little bit sidetracked, but that's okay. Talking some derby, talking etiquette in baseball, and should Major League Baseball kind of loosen up some of the restrictions. Now, you don't want to see guys hurt, okay? You don't want to see that. But I'll tell you this: it wasn't bad watching San Diego and the Padres and the Dodgers go back and forth against one another this past weekend, and some of the tempers starting to flare. It was kind of must-see TV. So to me, I get kind of excited. When baseball doesn't necessarily come down on those who banish the unwritten rules. I look forward to some of this rivalry stuff. The Cubs and the Brewers have now gone back and forth, and as far as players getting hit, Contreras beamed a couple of times in the first couple of meetings between these two teams. Now, we know that the ball that got away late in the game yesterday, and man, when you see somebody get hit in the head, you see him get plunked like that. Oh my goodness, just tough to watch. But when you see somebody take one in the melon like that, and Robertson, he goes down. I mean, the helmet came flying off the whole thing. That you want to prevent. That's where it gets away. No pitcher wants to hit a guy in the head. That's one that got away. You never want to see anybody injured or take something that's come so close to taking a severe injury in that fashion. But, you want to hit somebody in the back of the rear end, middle of the back, plant them. Okay. Maybe a little tight, move them back or up and in, knock them down. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I think those rivalries, that angst is good for baseball. And at least many of you kind of feel the same way. Now, there's a couple of you who say, look, Jacob says, I'm happy the Brewers get 2 out of 3. Still impressive that the Brewers are winning, even though we aren't at full strength. I know it's early, but it's exciting to me. It gives me hope. I completely agree with you. While you've got, Chris saying Major League Baseball is not going to allow it to add to the game. You go back to the Castellanos issue earlier this year with the Reds and the Cardinals. He flexes up. Next thing you know, Molina's shoving him, and he's the guy that didn't do anything. He was walking away, and baseball wants to suspend him for inciting something, which I still think is relatively wrong. For if you didn't do anything, all you did, come on. 877-867-1670. Mark says, I think that, first of all, Mitchell, I agree with you, they taste nasty. Mark, thank you very much. He says, secondly, there isn't enough personality in Major League Baseball. They need to do something about that. Thirdly, he said, I think the Green Bay Packers need to take a defensive lineman alongside Kenny Clark. And then fourth, he said, boy, the Bucs lost yesterday, certainly deflating after beating the 76ers twice. You are correct. You are correct. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. This is from Christopher, who says, I've been to the Kentucky Derby twice. What a spectacular display, but never sat in the press box or the boxes up top. Always stood in the infield where women with big hats who are taller do block your view. It can be frustrating, but who cares? As long as you're not standing out in 90-degree heat in the sun wearing a suit. Yeah, the infield's a little more casual. A little more than being up in the suites or the press box area or whatever you want to call it. It's a little more like when you go to let's say the Indy 500. If you're in the stands, you're dressed to go to a race. If you're in the infield, you're dressed to go to a Buffett concert, unless it's cold. If you're up in the press box or you're up in the suites, yeah, you're a little bit more to do, we'll say. There's an expectation there. But the Kentucky Derby is a different animal. The Kentucky Derby still has, remember, they used to have what they called the businessman special when it came to Major League Baseball. And business owners would take clients or take staff or whatever, men and women, they would dress up. You were in suits and fedoras, and women were in dresses, and that was the way you went to the ball game. The Kentucky Derby is a throwback to that. The Kentucky Derby is the mixing of old school and today. You see the stars and the celebrities. And just as a matter of fact, I think over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken, Aaron Rodgers had posted a picture saying, can't wait to get back there this year, because last year obviously didn't happen. Or it took place, what was it, virtually, I guess, or whatever the hell they did. And, But yeah, he just posted he can't wait to get back there and took a picture, posted one of the pictures with him and Clay Matthews and everybody that they were hanging out with at the Derby. So yeah, it's a bit of old school style by which you went to the Derby, and kind of going back to the days you wore fedoras and suits and dresses and all that kind of stuff. Because where else do you go that you wear that? And Jason says the only time you dress up like that is when you go to the upscale polo matches. I've never been to a polo match, so I couldn't tell you. But I would assume you're right. The only time I've ever seen a polo match was, I think, the movie Pretty Woman. That's it. I don't think there's anywhere else that you dress up to go to the sporting event. Do you? You don't? Well, I guess you can dress up more blingish if you're going to like a boxing match. Because usually after the boxing match, if you're out in Vegas, usually those things end up at a party somewhere. Got an after party at one of the casinos. But what other sporting match would you dress up for? Trying to think. You don't really do it for baseball. You don't do it for basketball. Maybe the NBA. But you don't dress up like you do for the Kentucky Derby. Right? You don't do that. Trying to think if there's anything else. If you think of one, let me know. But I think that's it. You don't do it for tennis. Kinger says Belmont Stakes. But yeah, horse racing in that facet. But I don't think there's another sport in which you do that, right? 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show right around the corner.
Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers are sitting in first place in the NL Central. That's after they closed out another series win over the Cubs yesterday with a 6-0 victory. It means Milwaukee has taken all 3 series this season against their division rivals in 6 of the 9 games overall. Patrick Craig Counsell knows how big it is.
With 2 of them being in Chicago, we've done our jobs. I don't think we can ask for anything more. Of going 6-3 against them, when you play a team a lot, it's hard to beat them that much. You tend to split games more when you play a team a lot. So we played them tough.
Milwaukee right in the middle of the league in terms of runs scored, so they've had to rely on their pitching staff to get the job done. Right now, starting pitching staff has the best ERA in the league and feature 2 players, Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, that are in the top 5. Second baseman Colton Wong says it's hard to beat their top 2.
Yeah, there's a reason why Woody is our ace right now. Obviously, they're both, our aces, but, Woody's leading us, and he's been doing an amazing job. When he's out there dominating the way he is, it's just so fun to understand that you got 2 horses like that in your stable that can go out and compete with anybody.
Milwaukee will be back home starting tonight as they face the Marlins at American Family Field.
From the kennel to the coop, Fleet Farm has everything you need to keep your animals happy and healthy. Whether you're training your pup to sit, mastering those retrieval skills, flipping your horse for competition, keeping the backyard birds well fed, or loving your pets like family. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, I don't need it, because we have it all. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Bucks blew a fourth quarter lead, lost at Atlanta last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 31 points, 14 rebounds in that loss. Milwaukee will be at Charlotte tomorrow. And it's finally NFL draft week. Things get underway Thursday. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst's going to meet with the media this afternoon. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Hour number 3 of the Bill Michaels Show. Welcome. Welcome on, welcome on this Monday. Draft week Monday. Got a lot to get to today. And the Brewers, they get a couple of wins against the Cubs this past weekend. You've got the Bucks faltering in the fourth quarter, and they fell to Atlanta after knocking off in back-to-back fashion the Philadelphia 76ers. 3.5 games now behind Brooklyn, who got a big win. KD is back. If they get Harden back, now we'll wait and see what kind of a team, kind of a scoring prowess Brooklyn has. But Brooklyn certainly seems to be kind of hitting their stride right now as they've taken over the top spot in the East. Essential Quality, by the way, is the odds-on favorite to win the Kentucky Derby this weekend. Talking about different Derby parties, talking about, we'll say, personality in Major League Baseball needed. Do you like it? Got some more NFL draft coverage coming up. Kevin Fishbane in the next hour going to talk some Bears football as he covers the Bears for The Athletic, what the Bears are going to be looking for. Thanks to Dan Miller, who's the voice of the Detroit Lions, who joined us a little bit earlier today. You're going to hear that coming up in the next hour as well, in case you missed it in the first hour of the show. So a lot of good stuff going on. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, do it. 877-867-1670. Grilling season is upon us, our friends. And you can find your premium meats, including steaks, chops, chicken, brats. And when you talk about adding to that, what do you add to that? Well, your favorite 24 or 30 packs of beverage, so to speak. The adult beverage kind. Lowest legal beer prices around. That is our good friends from Quick Trip. They've got it all at Quick Trip. You know what? I was completely disappointed. It was like losing family members to find out that the Tobacco Outlet Plus grocery store at the end of my street going to close down for about 3 months. They're going to rebuild the thing. And some of the staff not coming back. You get to be friends with these people at Quick Trip, man. I was just like, oh, broke my heart. But that's how much I love Quick Trip. And you can too. Stop in, just see for yourself. They offer everything. We got into a discussion this weekend. Some friends. It was, I want to say it was Saturday night. It was Saturday night. Saturday night. Was in Grafton. And I kind of did a pub crawl thing on Saturday night. And got into a discussion about Quick Trip. And we were talking about clean bathrooms. We were talking about all these different things that Quick Trip offers. And like, it's just a really weird conversation to have. But that's where the conversation went. Everybody else is talking about all the different things going on. The Bucks are, beating up on the 76ers. The Brewers are getting win over the Cubs. And we're all smiling and happy. And then for whatever reason, the conversation turned to Quick Trip just for the fact that they knew that, Quick Trip's one of my sponsors. And then it was like a Quick Trip love fest. People love this place. Man, when you travel anywhere else in the country and you realize a Quick Trip's not around the corner, man, you're just depressed. Stop in and check it out for everything that they have to offer. Welcome back to the program, and we're glad you're here today. The Brewers, like I said, got a win over the weekend. They're doing it without Christian Yelich. How concerning is the back issue with Christian Yelich? Now, the good news is he comes back to Milwaukee, and Christian Yelich then gets the MRI on his back, and it turns out to be negative, which is great. There's no seeming issue there. But I guess the disconcerting news is that he's still having issues with it to the point where they had to send him back for an MRI. So at this point, I guess you just have to say, you know what? They're winning. Take as much time as you need. You need another 2 weeks, take another 2 weeks. Take as much time as you need right now just to get ready to come back. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, go ahead and do so. Go ahead and do so. This one's from Mark, and Mark says, first of all, love me some Quick Trip. Second of all, he says that love the program. I think the Brewers are on the right track, even without Christian Yelich and Lorenzo Cain. Getting it done. Boy, you got to give credit to David Stearns and company for adding depth to this team, but Craig Counsell has played them like a master. I think this team is only going to get better, but we have to realize that the ERA for the starting rotation right now is not going to stay this way. Eventually, they'll come back to earth a little bit, and when they do, you hope that the bats are around to pick them up. That's one thing we've been talking about. When you look at Burns and Woodruff, Burns specifically, when you look at the top of that rotation, and the way they've been throwing the baseball. I mean, the best starting rotation ERA in all of baseball. And when you look at that and you think, okay, when things begin to level out, now let's hope it stays this way. Don't get me wrong. But if it does level out, you're absolutely right. You got to hope that at that point in time, you have the bats to be able to pick you up and back you up and that they're hitting their stride. Now, they have come up. It's been a slow and steady climb. Remember, they were like 29th in all of Major League Baseball, statistically speaking, for a long period of time, batting average and OPS wise. And then it came up to 27th, and then it came up to 26th. It just continued to move up, and it's starting to rise. I don't know if you've seen the power rankings of Major League Baseball. Major League MLB.com came out with their power rankings today, and they still have the Brewers as the 5th best team in all of baseball. The Dodgers are number 1. The Padres are the A's are number 2. The Padres are number 3. The Red Sox number 4, and the Brewers are number 5. And they say, speaking of aces carrying the day, Brandon Woodruff continues the Brewers' newfound tradition of stomping out the Cubs, throwing 6 scoreless frames and a 6-zip win on Sunday. Woodruff has a 1.55 ERA and a 0.72 whip in 5 starts this year. And after allowing 3 runs over 4 innings in his first start, he's allowed just 2 runs over 25 innings. And then that's the top 5 in Major League Baseball they find most impressive. The rest of it goes White Sox, Royals, Mets, Rays, Braves, Cardinals coming in at number 11. Cardinals at number 11. The Reds, who were as high as number 4 at one point, have fallen back to 18 because their middle relief and their bullpen are just absolutely positively terrible. The Cubs are 20th overall, and then the Pirates are at number 27. But that's where they think right now. That's what they think right now of the Milwaukee Brewers, number 5 in the power rankings of Major League Baseball. And they're getting it done without the power bats in the lineup right now. And that's still the best. When you talk about a feel-good feeling coming out of this season right now, if you talk about headlines for the Brewers, yes, the pitching staff, absolutely a headline. But the fact that you just look at the overall wins and getting it done without Christian Yelich, without a sustain of Colton Wong, without Lorenzo Cain and Keston Hiura, who has been extremely cold, it's still it's still somewhat amazing. If I'd have told you that at the beginning of the season, you'd say there's no way, but that's exactly what has happened. Jason says, when you talk about the unwritten rules, what about Tatis Jr. allegedly stealing signs? Now, okay, let me kind of clear this up when it comes to sign stealing, because I see that this is kind of going back and forth, and people are starting to discuss this in the sense of, what the Houston Astros did. If you steal signs and you have the ability to do it, sign stealing has been going on for forever. Okay? There's nothing new here, which is the reason why when you get a runner on second, you always get a catcher that mixes it up. It's always like first or second sign indicator, whatever. It's like he'll shake the fingers, give you 1, then shake the fingers, give you 2, shake the fingers, give you, it could be sign in, be, I don't do anything until I tap my leg. It could be something else, whatever it happens to be. If you give you the 4 sign and then tap your inner thigh or something like that, okay, then it goes back to being a fastball. It goes back to 1, whatever teams use. So they've been stealing signs forever. What the Houston Astros did was actually take a center field camera, zoom it in on the catcher, and then relay that information to the dugout, who then began banging on garbage cans to let you know. If it's a fastball coming, bang, 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 bang. Here it comes. Sit on the fastball, or vice versa on the breaking pitch. But they were letting you know the specific pitch was coming. Look for this. And then as the season went on, people kind of got into that. They started kind of going, okay, wait a minute. And then the jig was up. They used technology to cheat. And that's what other teams were using with some of these smartwatches. Because if you got a smartwatch, if you hook it up to your phone, then you could, you can get email and everything on your watch. It happens on mine. So if I'm sitting there and I'm looking at, a pitcher and I'm watching the game from upstairs or wherever, and I've got the hitting coach or the manager or whatever, the third base coach, whatever, and it's going to be a fastball, I just real quick hit 1 and then hit send, and then the text message comes across and he goes, okay, here we go. He says something specific to let you know, here comes the fastball. That quick. If you're fast enough with your phone, you can watch the television and then relay that information via a smartwatch to some of these guys. That's also technologically how they were doing it. That's not in the spirit of stealing signs. That's illegal. But if you're a guy on second and the catcher and the pitcher are too stupid to kind of mix things up a little bit to where the guy standing on second can see the sign and see the pitch, then that's on you. That's on you just being a bad pitcher and a bad catcher, and the battery in general just isn't getting it done. You're not doing enough to disguise it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Kinger says, wasn't there a team that tried to steal Nolan Ryan's pitches with a red and green light? God, that was a while ago. That was a while ago. God, I don't even. I remember something about it. Eric says, do you think there is an unwritten rule about bunting in extra innings? Because watching that game last night, the Dodgers left-handed batters came up with the extra runner on second, and the shift was on where Machado is in right field, but nobody lays the ball down the third base line. I don't know if there's an unwritten rule for that, but there shouldn't be. There shouldn't. That's if I'm anybody that's playing the shift, if anybody's playing the shift against me, you have got to figure out a way to either drop down a bunt or slap the ball in that direction. You just have to. The shift is such an this is like 4th down and 20, and every defender plays 30 yards back. That's kind of what the shift is. All you got to do is throw a 20-yard pass. You pick up a first down. They're giving it to you. Here you go. Here's the field. Take it. I bet you can't do it. And if you're not a good enough hitter to be able to slap it into that area, now hitting a breaking ball at 95 miles an hour, that's not easy. But these guys are getting paid millions of dollars to do it. You at least have to distinguish your game to the sense that if they start playing the shift on you, you have to be able to break up the shift. And if they play the shift, I would rather a guy bat 345 on the season and score 75, 80 runs and maybe drive in 50. If you're a power hitter and you say would drive in 80 to 100, hit 30 home runs, 35 home runs, 40 home runs, and hit into the shift all day long. I don't know sabermetrically or statistically what that is, what that equates to, if there's a win-loss parameter within the shift. But I would love to see over and over and over again a team play the shift against you, only to have you just continually beat them at their own game, continually slap the ball in the opposite direction. Lay down a bunt. Now, some of these guys that are power hitters that are just rakers that continually pull the ball to the left or right field right side, that's all they know. They're power hitters. So they're usually not guys that can stomp out a bunt. So if you got a decent third baseman who's playing a little over but still has a good break on the ball, or maybe a pitcher who's able to come off the mound, okay, it's a little bit harder. But damn it, at some point in time, you got to be able to figure out a way to slap the ball in the opposite direction to at least earn their respect. They don't even respect you. What they do respect is the fact that they know the knowledge. You have the ability to rake to that side of the field. What they don't respect is your ability to hit it anywhere else. They don't respect your ability as a baseball player to take what is given to you and be able to make the most of it. That's what's so mind-numbing about it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Continually hit us up. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show. That's coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show continues on. How are we looking? Hopefully your day is great. Absolutely great. Absolutely great. Enjoying the warmer weather as warmer weather continues to pour into our area. Tomorrow's supposed to be in the 80s. Get out and enjoy it. I know today and tomorrow. Today, I've got a couple things going on today, as a matter of fact. A little bit later on today, I'm going to be on Cooperville Live on Chris Cooper's podcast. I'll be doing that with him. And from 5:45 to about 6:30, I'll be on with him coming up this afternoon or this evening. So I'm going to join him. But a lot of yard work in my future. So I'll be doing that coming up here a little bit later on today. Got to head to the Home Depot. I don't know if you're like me, but my grass came in like in spots, really, really thick. In other areas, not so much. And my neighbors on both sides of me, I mentioned this last week, it's like they could be professional dandelion growers. So I'm trying to keep the dandelions out of my yard. It's like giant zits on a really pretty face. I try to keep my yard really nice, and man, when the dandelions pop up, I get so pissed. I just do. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. And I'm also trying to figure out the best fertilizer to spread on the yard. I don't know if I should use like the Scott's, or if there's anybody out there that does this professionally, let me know. Scott's has that 3-in-1, that turf builder, Scott's turf builder, the 3-in-1 that gets rid of the crabgrass and all that kind of stuff. Or if there's something else out there that works better, let me know. Because that's what I'm going to get today. With very little rain forecasted over the next few days, it's going to be a good time to throw this stuff down. So there you go. If you're a professional lawn maintenance person, give me a shout. Even better if you're a grounds person for a great golf course. Let me know what you use. I'll take that in a heartbeat. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Go ahead and hit us up. Talking Major League Baseball. This one's from Gifford. Gifford says, I don't mind fights in baseball at all. Bench clearing brawls never really amount to anything anyway. No punches are thrown, and if they are, it's all these guys pulling the other guys back. Baseball is all about the hold me back, I'm going to kick your ass mentality. It's a bunch of guys that probably go out on a Friday night, stand in a dark alley, and cower every time somebody bigger than them walks towards them. A lot of gutless baseball players out there. Gifford, I'm not gonna agree with that. I think a lot of baseball players are. It just is what it is, you know. it just is what it is. Guys know that if you go swinging on somebody, you're going to be suspended for a while. You know, it's always been the way. I've always said for some of these guys that are always instigating stuff, let them go. Let them go. Now, I think if you're going to go out and fight somebody, you throw the ball and glove down. You throw the bat down. You know? Mano and mano. Guys are running out there throwing bats and balls and stuff at each other. It's just like, come on. And then when you throw, you're a professional athlete. You're a professional baseball player. And then when you go to throw and you start that slap fight thing, you're like, guys are swinging, but they're just swinging wildly. And it looks like two drunken guys on a bad Friday at a bar in which they have no idea really how to ever throw gloves to begin with. And it's like, you're a professional baseball player. You should be able to overhand punch. You know, you should be these slap guys. And it cracks me up. Cracks me up. Football players, they know they got leverage, man. Football players are going to try to punch you through a face mask. Now that's tough. And they have really long try to punch you backing. Do you ever notice that? They're always punching, but they're backing up while they're throwing the punch. It doesn't land. Very rarely do you get somebody that just steps into it. You know, like maybe they've had some ring experience at some point in their life. But very few times does a basketball player ever swing into a punch. It's always while you're running backwards. You know? Those are some of the comical fights too. But football players, they're going to punch you in the helmet. They don't care. They'll punch you in the helmet, punch you in the pads, take you to the ground. They're going to wrestle you, try to rip that helmet off so they can then punch you in the face. Football players get down for real. And then don't get me started on soccer. If you ever saw a fight break out in soccer, the entire team for both sides would be laying on the ground, writhing around, and not one punch landed. You'd be looking at the instant replay going, well, who hit who? So some guy throws a punch, and it just whiffs through air. And about 7 feet away on the other side, a guy flops down. He starts holding his face and his knee at the same time. You know? I mean, don't get me started on soccer. Oh, my God. Rick says, hey, pay the pros like Kemlon. It's worth the money. You know what? I get they all want to do the one service. I don't need a service every 2 weeks or a month. Okay. I need like twice, 3 times a year tops, and that's it. Nothing more. I can do the rest myself. It's just the initial startup. I'm pretty good with the yard. I'm pretty good with the lawn. I take care of my place, that type of thing. But every time I try, I had a weed man, I think. They send the people to the neighborhood where they walk around with the notepads and then a badge on and mask, and they all look really official, and they say, hi, sir, I'm here to talk to you about your lawn. And I'm like, give me your spiel, give me your piece of paper, whatever it is, and I'll take a look at it. And then they call you. Oh, my God, they call you. I said, they said they would do one free treatment, and the free treatment's probably spraying water and cat pee on your lawn, So I said, I'll do the one free treatment. I just want to see how it does. Okay, great. So they came over. It did okay, And I said, look, I only want it a couple of times a year. I did it for 1 year. And they called me every week. And they usually call me between the hours of 10 and 2 when I'm on the air. And I would even tell them, don't call me at this time. And they kept calling and calling and calling and calling. Finally, I was just like, you know what? I don't care how good it worked. You're annoying as hell. You're annoying as hell. I am the get off my lawn guy because I take a lot of time to make my lawn nice. Unless, of course, you're walking a dog, Yeah, hey, if your dog wants to come and roll around in the yard, I'm good with that. Kanger says hockey fights are hit or miss. Funny seeing 2 goalies go at it. Well, goalies, their arms are in pads. They don't even have the ability to really swing. They're all covered up with chest protectors and helmets and the big knee pads. And if they do fall to the ground, it's not going to hurt them. It's no big deal. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up? Go ahead. Oh, Matthew says some of the best fights have been between soccer players and coaches. He said, I was watching a Premier League game once where one guy pushed the other guy, who then did a backwards somersault, flipping into the air only to fall back down and act as if his knee was broken. The coach then ran out onto the field to defend his player and shoved the player that originally did the shoving. That player then fell to the ground and acted as if he had snapped his ankle. The coach threw his hands in the air like, "What are you talking about? What did I do?" And said, "I barely touched the guy." We all know that soccer, you can barely touch somebody, and they're going to go reeling. I'm telling you, a soccer fight, that's almost worth watching because of the comic factor. You know? A soccer fight. You ever been to one of the fights like when the Milwaukee Wave was playing the indoor? Those get a little more rowdy because you can hear guys get banged into the boards and stuff like that, you know? That gets a little more rowdy. But soccer on the pitch, yeah. I'm not sure if it's, and Kinger, you're right, what's worse, the flops or the slap fights in soccer? Oh, it's terrible. It's embarrassing. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. More of the Bill Michaels Show is next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Big Unit Bill Michaels here, Scholze Family Beef. Now, you can kick off the tailgate season, whether it's at the ballpark or backyard, with their bratwurst. There's 4 different flavors available: beef, blue cheese, pork, and beer brats. They have pre-formed burger patties as well, skinless wieners for the kids, and even snack sticks and jerky. That's all awesome. But if you're a meat griller, Scholze Family Beef has steaks for grilling, roasts, brisket, ribs, tomahawk ribeyes for smoking. Also, Fox Smokehouse barbecue sauce and salty provision seasonings are available as well. Being a family farm, they really do have that special touch. They want you to come on by. Stop by the farm. I'm not kidding. Stop in and check out the farm store, a good old-fashioned farm store. Whether you drive or ride a motorcycle or even an ATV, come on in and sit a spell. If you want delicious pasture-raised beef delivered to your doorstep, order today, and you'll get it in a couple of days. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is Scholze, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. From their family farm to your family's table. That is Scholze Family Beef.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Hey, don't forget about our friends at the Four Seasons Island Resort. Dave, my buddy Dave, my new buddy Dave, went up north, and he said, hey, Unit, you were 100% correct. Had a great time playing some golf on the island course. Took my wife, who's not a big-time golfer, so the executive course was perfect. The reservation for the dinner in the Diamond Room was great. Very intimate setting. Didn't realize it was that small. We really appreciated that setting. And then went over and had a couple of cocktails across the hall. Loved the old 1920s car decor. And then actually sang a few ditties down in the Boundary Waters Cafe. They had karaoke and then a live band there this past weekend. I said, love the place. Definitely going to go back. But my sister-in-law wants to take her kids up there. We were talking about how great it would be to load up the family and take them to the pool. The pool was huge. You are right. Both the upstairs and the downstairs decks are fantastic. I just wanted to say thanks for the heads up. Never been there. Never knew it existed. Now, that's what I've told people. When it comes to the Four Seasons Island Resort, it's a hidden gem. If you've never been, if you look, if you got ATVs, take them. If you want to go fishing, they have pontoon boats. You can bring your poles. You're good to go. If you want to go kayaking, they have waterfalls in that area. They're going to be doing a waterfall tour coming up as well. They got a Mother's Day weekend coming up with Mother's Day brunch and dinner reservations and all that kind of stuff. Look, and the pool, the saunas, the hot tubs, all of it. Whitewater rafting. And I talked about ATV rides. There's so much up there. It's just whatever you want to make it. Or if you just want to get away and do nothing. You want to lay in the room. You want to walk around outside, hike a little bit. You want to come back and have a great dinner. Whatever. It's just a terrific place. If you want to make some reservations, get a hold of our girl Barb up there. B-A-R-B. Barb at the4seasonswi.com. The4seasonswi.com. Barb at the4, F-O-U-R, seasonswi.com. So much cool stuff. And there's nothing better than somebody that actually goes there, that just goes there and then gives you a write-up like that. Because that's what sells. I mean, to me, I can sit here and tell you about how great it is, but other people that go there and say, this is really cool, that's absolutely fantastic. If you want to find out more information, and they're going to have guided waterfall tours coming up, check them out online at the4seasonswi.com, the4seasonswi.com. And they've got all kinds of cool stuff coming up there, different special weekends. Call them 715-324-5800. That's 715-324-5800. Again, 715-324-5800. And find out more about the Four Seasons up in Pembine, Wisconsin. And they also have the sister resort, which is the Pine Mountain Resort in the UP in Iron Mountain, Michigan. So another terrific place to go. But tell them we sent you. Get that, get the deal. Because yes, the Bill Michaels deal still wink, wink, nod, nod, still going on. Tell them we sent you. 877-867-1670. And this is Mark who says Major League Baseball has to allow some players to play and be personalities. If they spice it up a little bit, it's going to draw some of the younger viewers. Craig says MLB should suspend anybody who leaves the bullpen or the dugout. What is the point of leaving for a fight that was not about to happen? NBA did that for leaving the bench, and it seems to have worked, which that is a good point as well. Let's get to the phone calls. Let's talk to Kelly listening to us. Welcome to the program, man.
What's going on?
I appreciate that, pal. I try to be anyway.
Yeah. So, got a little lawn tip for you. I used to sell for True Green.
Okay.
And they are expensive. And I agree with you. Twice a year, to have the professionals do it, and you do it in between. The reason being is, as soon as your dandelions start popping, and they're probably popping right now, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you need the professionals out there to spray your lawn with the chemicals that will, it doesn't matter if it rains the next day.
Okay.
When you put the granular fertilizer on, it can't rain for 48 hours. Right?
Gotcha.
So, and it's a better way of treating the weeds. I do it right now. I have them come out. I have 3 acres to spray.
Oh my God.
And then I have them come out in September when the weeds can start up again. Okay. Then I do in between, maybe once or twice.
Okay.
And it's beautiful.
Okay.
But when it gets real dry, you need to water. I mean, if you're not a watering guy, stay off the lawn, let it go dormant, and it'll come back in September when it starts raining again.
Okay. Hey, here's a question for you because I have dogs. Now, what do I got to do regarding my dogs?
They're not female, right?
No.
Okay. That's good because female dogs will burn a lawn when they urinate. So they're acidic. Their urine is very acidic. So we had a female dog. We had to give it apple cider vinegar to reduce that.
Oh my God.
So, but anyway, yeah.
Can the dogs run on the lawn after you have it treated?
After you treat it, yes. Yes.
Okay.
I would wait until it's dried on to the weeds and grass. I'd wait an hour or two. But I will give you a tip. Naturescape, I know they're down there in Milwaukee. They are awesome. They will come back if your weeds do not look sick in 2 weeks. They will come. You call them, they come back, and they will retreat your lawn again.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
okay.
Yeah, Naturescape. They're like half the price of True Green.
All right, tip of the day. I'll look into that. Man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. There you go. Good stuff from Kelly listening to us in New London. Give me some weed tips for my lawn. I need that. Like I said, I have been pretty good about fending things off around me because I've got professional dandelion growers in my neighborhood. And when you drive up and down my street, the lady across the street does a pretty good job, but the guy a couple of doors up and the person next to me, yeah, that's I'm battling every day. I'm standing out there on the border, just out there with my weed puller and my little spray gun. I'm out there trying to fend them off every damn day. It's like they're going to cross the border and invade my territory. I feel like Canada. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Phone lines wide open. Go ahead and hit us up. Good stuff. Oh, my goodness. Let's see here. We got some emails out of the Facebook email inbox. Let's see. Well, Wayne says, go to our site, Landscape Supply. Wayne, I appreciate it. I'll track you down. This is from Nathan. He said, looking to book a weekend at the Four Seasons. He said, I know you've talked about it. Do they still have the special Bill Michaels rate? Nathan, get a hold of Barb. She's our girl. This is from Michael that says Major League Baseball has a real identity problem right now, and it starts at the top. Nobody really trusts Rob Manfred after all the crap that he put us through his fans last year. We just believe that right now baseball is a rudderless ship. And he feels that baseball is heading in the wrong direction. They need new leadership. Well, I don't know what it would take. Once you become a commissioner of one of these leagues, you got to do something relatively detrimental to where the owners start losing money, or it really becomes impactful for them to lose money for you to get ousted as the leader. It just does. These guys, once they're elected and they get in, they get a long time to hang on to that job. So I can't imagine that anything is going to move. If they start losing money and the ratings continue to decline and they can't figure it out, yeah, I can see that maybe happening in about 3 to 5 years down the road. But right now, yeah, there's not anything moving Manfred out of there, no matter what. 877-867-1670. Continually hit us up. Good stuff over on the Bud Light live stream. Hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show right around the corner. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We continue on. Coming up after the top of the hour, Kevin Fishbane writes for The Athletic, and he covers the Chicago Bears. We'll talk to him about the NFC North, the Bears' place in the draft coming up this Thursday that gets underway. Also get his thoughts on the rest of the division as we look around the NFC North this week in preparation for the 2021 NFL Draft taking place in Cleveland, Ohio. So that's coming up here just after the top of the hour. And in case you missed it, earlier today, Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions, joined us. And you're going to hear that coming up in about 40 minutes from now as well. So hang in there. We got a lot more NFC North chatter coming up in just a bit. This one is from Frank. Frank says two things. He says, use the Scott's Turf Builder. The triple protection has done great for my yard. He says, secondly, Major League Baseball should allow the personalities in the game, albeit, he says, they should not be throwing at one another. Too many guys can get hurt and ruin careers that way. So in other words, you're allowing the flamboyantness of each player, the personality of the player, even though it may or may not, depending on how he does it, PO the opponent. But retaliation still a thing in which you should not be doing, if I'm reading you correctly. I think there has to be at least the expectation that should you cross the line in your celebration or enthusiasm, if you will, that there still could be some type of, hey, we don't like that, and we're not going to have you do that here in our face or in our yard or what have you. I don't think that there's the book of unwritten rules that stipulate when or when not to retaliate, but I've always kind of thought that if you're doing it with your team, that's one thing. If you're doing it to show somebody else up or to showboat, then yeah, maybe the chin music, if you will, to borrow the old cliche. The chin music might not be a bad way to go. 877-867-1670. Hit us up over on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all that kind of good stuff. Jason listened to us in Viroqua, says, when are you coming back out? He said, I heard you were going to be stopping by. We would like to know. A few friends of mine would like to come and see the broadcast. He also says that I really like the Brewers and the way they're playing right now. Do you think they're going to retaliate after yesterday with the Cubs the next time these two teams see one another? No. I just don't. Not that way. Robertson, if you're talking about the Robertson getting hit by the pitch yesterday and taking his helmet off, and we talked about this a little while ago, that was one that just got away. That just got away. It just, you don't intend to hit anybody in the head like that. Even when Robertson started to square to bunt, that was still way up and in. It wasn't like he ducked into it. I mean, that was putting him on his ass anyway. You don't go up anywhere near anybody's head like that. I mean, you could just tell by the reaction. You know, Adam's reaction, where he kind of puts his arms up like, oh my God, you know, Contreras coming out immediately and putting his hand on his back going, are you okay? I mean, that's serious. I mean, ball players know that. There's certain things you don't do, and you never try to intentionally hit a player in the head. You don't do that. Now, like I said, every now and then you may want to go up and in, and you want to get up around the midsection, the chest, even the shoulders to a certain extent, and it may get away from you. But you don't ever intentionally throw at somebody's head. That just, you talk about one of the key unwritten rules. You just don't do that. So if I'm the Brewers, no, I'm not retaliating for Robertson getting hit in the head. The same way that, look, first series that you had against them when Contreras got one in the dinger, they weren't trying to do that. You don't retaliate for that. You know, if you're hitting a guy in the knee, or you're coming up and in, and you're hitting him in the shoulders or in the forearms, or hitting him in the back of the tricep or something like that, because you're continually busting him up and in and getting him off the plate, that's a different story. But when you hit somebody in the head, you're not looking to retaliate for that, because that's not the intent. You have to understand the situation as well. I mean, don't forget, you got McKinney who doubled. You got Jackie Bradley Jr. who walked. You've got him at first and second, and nobody out. You're trying to get an out. You're trying to get the double play. He was just trying to move Robertson back a little bit, and that was the extent of it. So he could probably go low and away on him. Because what he did was then put Robertson at first base, loaded the bases, and then Urias cleared Bradley Jr., McKinney. Both of those guys scored. Robertson goes to second, and then right after that, Colton Wong doubles out to right, and Robertson scored, and Urias goes to third, if I'm not mistaken. And that's when Narvaez walked right after that, and then they made the pitching change, I think. So, no, that was not a situation. I mean, if there's nobody on and you're either down or one, you're leading, you're not trying to put a runner on, and you're not trying to put a runner on that's going to extend the lead. It just circumstance didn't call for it. So, no, they weren't trying to hit him. That's the reason you're not going to go after him. 877-867-1670. Kevin writes in the email inbox, he says, I think the Brewers are on the right path when it comes to their offense and pitching. Once you get Yelich back and Kane starts roaming center again, what changes would you make? Right now they're winning. Would you screw it up? Well, I don't think you're screwing it up if you add players that are ready to play. You know what I mean? You're not screwing anything up. What you're doing is adding players that are more likely, or at least statistically, better players. So, I mean, it's not like where a guy is really handling himself well in football, and he's got a great matchup with the guy ahead of him, and so you get your starting left tackle back, and you say, yeah, you know what, it's not a bad way to go. But, again, any player that is penciled in as a starter at the beginning of the season, unless he is in a woeful slump, goes down with injury, and the guy that comes in for him is just tearing the cover off the ball, you don't. The old adage is you don't lose your job because of injury. At least you're not supposed to. You're supposed to at least get an opportunity to come back and take your job back. So Colton Wong, you knew was going to be your second baseman because, you had Keston Hiura playing a bit over there, and Keston Hiura is struggling. But Billy McKinney, you're not going to keep Christian Yelich out of the lineup because Billy McKinney's coming back, and you're probably going to alternate some time with Jackie Bradley Jr. and Lorenzo Cain when he finally comes back. And you're going to move him around. Garcia's been playing pretty well. So you're going to continue to move him around and play the hot hand and play the matchups, just as you always have. And, excuse me, and McKinney, Tyrone Taylor, those guys, they tore the cover off the ball in spring training. They earned that right to come up. Now, the one thing you have to understand is McKinney doesn't have an option. Tyrone Taylor has one option, so you have the ability to send him back down. But, eventually you're going to have this logjam. So, what you would love is let's just say that McKinney or Kane or, you really start getting great offense out of your outfield. And maybe, just maybe, if you need a pitcher at the trade deadline to help you out, maybe you got the ability to trade a starter for a starter for another arm that's going to help you out right now. But let's hope that the Brewers don't have to do that, because I really like the depth of their outfield right now. This is about as good a depth as I can remember in a long, long time. Coming up next, Kevin Fishbane. He writes for The Athletic, and he covers the Chicago Bears. We continue our look around the NFC North, getting ready for the 2021, we'll call it, NFL Draft, 2021 Draft. So Kevin Fishbane is going to join us coming up next on The Bill Michaels Show.
are simply spectacular. Tailgates, picnics, weekends on the lake, or just sitting around the fire pit with neighbors, enjoying some great conversation. Yeah, well, your official convenience store of summer, Quick Trip, is celebrating with the lowest legal beer prices on your favorite 24 and 30 packs all summer long, including Bud Light, Busch Light, Miller Light, Coors Light. Quick Trip, convenience and low prices. Like the lowest prices on 24 and 30 packs? Quick Trip, big on fresh, big on summer.
Well, the Bucks blew a fourth quarter lead, lost at Atlanta last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 31 points, 14 rebounds in that loss. Milwaukee will be at Charlotte tomorrow. And it's finally NFL draft week. Things get underway Thursday. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst going to meet with the media this afternoon. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil. Print.
Hour number 4 of the Bill Michaels Show on this Monday. As we get you set, it's a lot of draft talk this week, NFC North talk this week, as the Green Bay Packers get ready to make their picks. So does everybody else. And what needs are out there for each team? The Chicago Bears have a new quarterback in Andy Dalton. They still have a returning one in Nick Foles. And they're trying to kind of, accentuate what it is they have. They've got a decent defense. Now, what pieces are going to come along? And Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic now joining us on the hotline to talk a little bit more about the Bears. And you can find him at K Fishbane on Twitter. Kevin, how you doing?
Good, Bill. How are you?
We are really, really good. So let's start off with Andy Dalton and the release of Mitch Trubisky, where he goes off and now has moved on to, say, greener pastures. Give me your thoughts on the quarterback position now for the Chicago Bears.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. You talk to 20 different people and you'll get 20 different opinions on where they're at right now. Is Andy Dalton an upgrade to Mitch Trubisky? There's some people who think yes, there's some people who think no. Obviously the Bears were ready to move on from Mitch Trubisky. They did not want to re-sign him, and he is going to get an opportunity to be a backup and try to get another contract the year after. I think for the Bears, they need somebody. That they just had to have somebody in place. They weren't ready to go into next season with Nick Foles as the starter after what he did last season. To them, Andy Dalton was just a guy that made a lot of sense. He's been a starter. He's got a ton of experience. He knows offensive coordinator Bill Lazor well. But this can't be the end of the quarterback situation for them for this year. I can't imagine that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's pitch to their bosses after the season ended was, "Oh yeah, our plan is to sign Andy Dalton. Everything will be fine." Like there's got to be more to the story. Part of that was their attempt to trade for Russell Wilson, which didn't pan out. So for now, it's Andy Dalton. I would expect there to be a rookie joining Dalton by the end of this week. Who that rookie is, obviously, is the big question mark.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So if there is going to be a rookie joining him, do you see them making a move, a trade for the next quarterback? Because we know how the last time they made a move for a quarterback panned out. Do you think they'll be a little gun shy, or do you think they actually get aggressive and try to make a move for one of these top five quarterbacks?
Yeah, nothing has made Ryan Pace gun shy in his career as GM. No matter how many mistakes have been made, he is just very confident in his beliefs. And this time around, he's got Matt Nagy by his side. This is the first time they have scouted quarterbacks in the draft class together. In 2017, Pace kind of did it on his own. He didn't really. John Fox wasn't a big part of it. John Fox didn't even know they were taking Mitch Trubisky the night of. So I think that. So the story came out today about it's going to be Trey Lance or Mac Jones at number 3. I like to think if Justin Fields is still there at 4, there's going to be a bunch of teams thinking about trading up, and I would imagine the Bears could be in that category. But then again, we just don't know, what they think of Justin Fields, what they think of Mac Jones, Trey Lance. If one of those, it just takes one though. If they really believe one of those guys is someone that could eventually be a 10-year franchise quarterback for them, 10, 15 years, then they're going to look into trading up. The problem is that they have the 20th pick, and there are teams ahead of them like Denver, and New England and even Washington, who's one pick ahead of them, that have better picks to offer in a trade. So they're going to be forced to give up a lot if they want to get to 4, if they want to get up to 8 where Carolina is and leapfrog Denver. If they want to leapfrog New England and get to where the Chargers or Giants or Cowboys are drafting, if one of these guys slips out of top 10. So I would keep an eye on them Thursday night. I do think, and again, it just depends on who that quarterback is that they have set their sights on. And if it's, none, or if none of them get out of top 10 or nobody's interested, then you got to look at them to get someone in round 2, whether it's Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, Kyle Trask, someone like that.
So if you're going to go with, say, the top couple of needs for this team going into, because I know one of the things you have to do is obviously protect whomever is going to be under center, and their offensive line has been banged up. They've had some shifting going on. Are they going offensive tackle early on in this one, or do you think they still need some defensive back help, another wide receiver? Which direction do you think they go?
Yeah, I think all 3 of those are definitely in play. They have to be in position to draft somebody who can be a contributor right away and start right away. They're an interesting spot at offensive tackle. I mean, a lot of people have said they've needed an offensive tackle for years, and they haven't drafted one in a long time. It's been 10 years since they took an offensive tackle in the first round. They do have their 2 starting tackles back. They have a veteran backup. So, you could argue that they can get away with taking someone in round 2 or round 3 to develop because they have guys placeholders this year. The flip side is, they also aren't married to the 2 guys they have. They could draft someone round 1, give him an opportunity to compete to start. If he wins the job, they cut or trade Charles Leno or Jermaine Ifedi. I don't think many Bears fans would shed a tear if that was the case. Wide receiver, there's an opportunity where if you take somebody in the first round or the second round, that guy could start right away. And the Bears are fortunate. It is a deep slot receiver draft, and that's where their need is at the slot. There were reports that Anthony Miller's in the trading block. Once those reports come out, there's usually no going back. So it's hard to expect Anthony Miller to be a part of this team next year. So you would have to replace him and find a new slot receiver. And then corner, they were forced to cut Kyle Fuller because of the cap. They don't have a true starting nickel corner. So it's another spot where you look at number 20. I put out my mock draft today at the Athletic for the Bears, and I went with Greg Newsome at number 20, the Northwestern corner, because he's someone, again, can start day one. And this is a team that, as much as they want to find their quarterback for the future, they also have to compete for the playoffs this year. So they're in this kind of weird purgatory, having the 20th pick where they're going to want a guy who can contribute right away and help them get to the playoffs. But this is also a group that knows they have to stop ignoring the quarterback position and figure something out that works.
Talking with Kevin Fishbane of The Athletic, covers the Chicago Bears for The Athletic, and talking about the NFL draft. You talked about Greg Newsome, the corner out of Northwestern. And like you said, many teams feel like if he comes in, he's going to be a starter right away and that he can really bolster any team. Now, it does take a little while for you to come in and be any kind of a lockdown corner in the NFL, but he could come in and be a starter for the Bears. But did the Bears making the postseason, do you think that hurt them?
I think in some ways it did. And a lot of it depends on kind of how your philosophy on this. I think that there is something to be said that the Bears would be in a better spot right now if they had gone 5-11, fired everybody, and started over, and had been in better position to move up if they needed to get a quarterback and just start over, and rebuild and trade some of their veterans and put up with the fact that they were going to have to lose probably for a couple of years before they get back into contention. I think there's a very legitimate argument for that. If you're the McCaskey family, however, and you've gone through so many losing seasons over the past 2 decades, I can't imagine that's something that you really are excited about going through. I have to imagine that they are maybe not thrilled about the way the playoff situation went down, but they were perfectly content to have said, hey, we made the playoffs, even though we had a 6-game losing streak. So from their perspective, I think that they're not going to apologize for it, nor should they necessarily. But yeah, as I said, they're in it's kind of NFL hell, right? You don't have a quarterback, you have the 20th pick, so you don't have really draft assets, and you sit here and you look at Detroit, who has a top 10 pick and a new direction. And you look at Atlanta and some of these other teams. You're like, wow, that'd be nice. But the Bears just they're not going to voluntarily go into that direction. They also still have enough good players on this team to compete. I mean, think about it this way: the last 2 years, they 8-8, and they again and made the playoffs last year. They did all of that with Mitch Trubisky, who many believe to be one of the worst starting quarterbacks in football. And they went 8-8 2 years in a row. So to them, there's got to be this sense too of like, man, if we just had an average, slightly above average quarterback and stayed a little healthier and got more production from the defense. I'm listening to those things. It might sound like a lot. It really isn't, because we saw what that looked like in 2018. They went 12-4. So there is this sense of they're not that far away. If they went 8-8 despite really poor quarterback play, what could they do with average quarterback play? And so that in their mind, that's why it's okay that they're in this spot. But as you kind of alluded to, there is certainly an argument to be made that they would be much better off having lost more games and been in position to just draft a better player and kind of take the bullet of having to rebuild.
The Matt Nagy. Now, I know there was some people, kind of screaming that is he the right guy for the job? Then he gives up the play calling. Bill Lazor takes it over. He still has some say in it. Now, is this something that's all settled, or because of a new quarterback that Nagy's going to take the play calling back over again? It seemed like Nagy at times tried to be the smartest guy in the room, and he ended up kind of tripping over himself.
Yeah, that's an apt description a little bit, for sure. Look, this is a year where Matt Nagy, I think, understands that he needs to put out a winning product, that this team needs to win. They need to win a playoff game. And he's maybe fortunate to still be coach after what happened the past 2 seasons. If that's the situation, if he believes that his job's on the line, he's going to want as much control over that as he can. He's not going to let somebody else call the plays. He came here in part because of what he could do as a play caller. He's turned out to be a much better kind of leader, CEO type than somebody than a play caller. I think that there's a lot of respect in the building for him, and there is something to be said about the fact that these guys have been resilient through these losing streaks, and because look, I covered the John Fox teams, I covered the 2014 Mark Trestman team. I've seen what it looks like, in December when you're out of it, and it was different. It's been different under Matt Nagy, but the problem is you don't want to have those losing streaks to even put you in that position to show that resilience. This is a crucial year for him, and I think I think 2019 humbled him. And he brought in new offensive coaches. I think last year humbled him, and we saw him give up play calling. Now he's taking it back. So I am very curious to see what they do on Thursday, because he's going to have a big voice in that decision. And then obviously when we get to the fall, what this offense ultimately looks like. So
I want to ask you, as I did Dan Miller earlier, from the outside looking in, first of all, how far away are the Bears to where the Packers are? And then secondly, with what's going on in Green Bay and all the consternation between Aaron Rodgers, the organization, will they or will they not extend him, restructure him? Because right now they don't have enough money to even sign the rookies. So obviously something's going to have to happen. But give me your thoughts on where the Bears are in conjunction with the Green Bay Packers and what your assessment is outside looking in as to what the hell's going on in Green Bay.
I'll tell you this, if I'll stereotype a Bears fan for a moment, a Bears fan would give up Italian beef for their entire life to have what the Packers have with Aaron Rodgers right now. They would give up season tickets. I mean, they look at that consternation, they look at the drama, they look at the playoff losses and be like, please, could we please have that? We would love to have that situation as opposed to this. That's how much Bears fans are envious of Aaron Rodgers and what the Packers have built over the years from Favre to Rodgers. So I think that there is a glee around Chicago when the Packers ultimately, haven't been able to cash in on more than the one Super Bowl with Rodgers, the more of the one NFC championship. But everybody in Chicago knows that they would gladly take all those playoff losses over what they've had to deal with over the past 10, 15, 20, 30, now going on 36 years since the Super Bowl. So, that's one element to it. From my perspective, I've always, viewed, always made, over the last decade, I've viewed Aaron Rodgers as the most talented, most gifted quarterback who's ever played the game. And it's been mind-boggling to see how that franchise hasn't gotten more out of it, that they haven't been to more Super Bowls, that they don't have more Lombardi trophies. I understand, Aaron Rodgers is unique. A lot of these quarterbacks are. They're all wired in their different ways. But, so from my perspective, I've always been sitting here being like, well, how, why isn't the first round pick in 2020 a wide receiver? Why aren't they building this team around him the way you saw, the Bucs build around Brady last offseason? So that's always been kind of my, the view of it. But I was incredibly impressed with the way the Packers played last year and the way that he played. And it seemed like him and LaFleur got on a much better page. But, I think from Chicago, you sit there and you think, man, we've had for anyone from Mitch Trubisky to Mike Glennon to Jay Cutler to Jimmy Clausen, the list goes on and on and on. And all through all those guys, Rex Grossman and Kyle Orton before that, obviously during the Favre era. And then you go, to all the different guys that just step in for Cutler. All that time, there's Rodgers. And he is just the ultimate trump card in this rivalry. As the Bears just haven't had anybody like that in their entire history. So, I think that it goes both ways, where I think Bears fans can't figure out why the Packers haven't won more Super Bowls. They probably are happy about it, but they're also wishing that they had what Green Bay had.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams do, and we kind of take it for a little bit of granted here in Green Bay. At least maybe the organization does. I appreciate the short notice and coming on the program, Kevin. Always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you later on down the road, okay?
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, pal. Talk to you soon. There you go. Kevin Fishbane of The Athletic. He covers the Chicago Bears, giving us perspective as to what the Bears need, as to their coaching staff and how things are going on there. How far away they are from the Green Bay Packers, and some outside looking in when you talk about how people perceive the Green Bay Packers and what is going on between the Packers organization and Aaron Rodgers, and just take the salary cap issues out of it. Just how do you let this get to this point? And again, that's, it's be thankful for some of the problems you don't have, because of the relationship that you do have between Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and specifically the fans. So there you go. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, though, coming up about 10 minutes away, we're going to hear from Dan Miller. He's the voice of the Detroit Lions as well, breaking down their teams, his teams, options and such, and optimism going into this season, and not fooling anybody as far as the rebuild goes. But we'll talk about that, and you'll hear from that coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show is next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What's going on, buddy?
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Hopefully you're enjoying your day. I don't know if it's going to climb out of the 50s today. At least where I'm at. I don't know about you, but at least where I'm at. It's in the upper 40s, but it was I thought it was going to be warmer today. I worry about weather because I like warm weather. I can't wait for the summer to get here. I can't wait for good warm weather, consistent weather to get here, so you can plan on doing all your stuff outside. Now it says 56 now. Maybe it just updated. It says 56 now. I know tomorrow is going to get warm. That's for sure. Tomorrow they're calling, instead of 82, they're calling for 78 and some showers on Wednesday. Come Saturday though, back into the 60s and upper 60s. 70s on Sunday. And the chance of rain over the weekend, not much. So it looks like it's going to be a good weekend ahead. Start planning for that. So if you got an outdoor party ready to go when it comes to your Kentucky Derby party, you should be good to go. Hey, speaking of indoors and outdoors and all that kind of good stuff, our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, I'll tell you what, if you love fresh air and sunshine, it's stimulating, ain't it? Sure is. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. They've been bringing in that fresh air and sunshine for a long time. They've been in that business for a while. And if you think about it, by upgrading right now with Pella of Wisconsin, you can let in the sunshine. Just let it shine on through your house, warm your house, all that kind of good stuff. But if it gets too warm, they have blinds and shades right in the glass. Keep some of the sun out. Then again, they have the integrated roll screen design. So if you want to let the air in, all you got to do is open the window, pull down the roll screen, good to go. You can bring in that fresh air. So many cool things from our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And speaking of stimulating, wouldn't it be nice right now and smart to use that stimulus check or maybe even that tax check and that refund? Invest in energy efficient Pella Windows and Doors for your place right here, right now. They're actually going to pay you back in the years to come. You can order right now between now and the end of the month, so 4 days remaining. 6 years, no interest financing if you do it now. 6 years, no interest financing. That is Pella now and pay later, and that is a stimulating breath of fresh air from our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And the best part about it is you can do it in many different ways. Now, they still have the virtual appointments if you're cautious, okay? You can also set up your free consultation in the showroom, the experience center, if you will. Or you can set up a home appointment. They can come actually right to your house and start taking measurements right here, right now. Go to PellaWI.com/radio. That's PellaWI.com/radio. Or if you want to give them a call them 855-PELLA-WI. That is 855-PELLA, 855-PELLA-WI. Again, 855-PELLA-WI. And hit them up. Good stuff for our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. This is from Jack, who says, what do you think is going to happen with Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota? Really like him, been watching him for a long time. Do you think the Packers or the Vikings will end up with him? Boy, that's a great question. when you talk about the wide receiver position is nowhere as deep as it was last year. So he could go early on in the draft. I mean, I've seen predictions with him as high as, I think, number 11. But with all the conjecture, it depends on what starts to go. If there's a run on quarterbacks, then no, he's probably going to fall. If there's a run on cornerbacks, he probably is going to fall as well. But if all of a sudden you start looking at some of these teams that have young quarterbacks that are up there in the draft and the wide receivers begin to go, he could end up as number 3, number 4, number 5 quarterback on the list to go. You know, Jamar Chase out of LSU is a highly thought of a wide receiver. They look at Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida, as almost a wide receiver. And you figure he's going to go pretty high. They got Jalen Waddle out of Alabama, a really highly rated. Devonta Smith out of Alabama, a highly rated wide receiver as well. So Rashad Bateman's probably a step below them. When it comes to the wide receiver position, maybe he falls. I know that he's considered to be at least a little bit better receiver than, say, Terrence Marshall, the kid out of LSU, Elijah Moore, the kid out of Ole Miss. So my assumption is he's probably in the top 12, maybe. But specifically where he might end up, they could take him in Chicago if he falls that far. Who knows? They could take him in Chicago, but he still could end up in Minnesota. But Minnesota, they're not in need of a wide receiver. What they really could probably use is another offensive tackle. So my assumption is they're going to probably take the unpopular pick, and they're going to be looking for Christian Darrisaw, the kid out of Virginia Tech. They could be looking for if Sewell, the kid, the big offensive tackle out of Oregon, suppose he falls, they could end up going in that direction. But they need some protection. They need some guys in the trenches. So my thought is that that's the direction they're going to go. So anyway, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Mark says, I've been searching the internet, have not found out who has the best mock draft predictions over time. Yeah, I was asking about that earlier because you get Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, and you get Our Lads Scouting Services and Pro Football Weekly, and you get all the different, online scouting services and all the different mock drafts that come about. I don't know who the best is. I don't even know if there's a website out there that kind of keeps that statistical information. You know what I mean? I've never really paid attention to it. I'm not even, I agree with you. When it comes to draft projections, there's so many of them out there. There's so many of them out there, and all the analysis. I mean, it's like when you get a grade and they say, here's your grade for what you did in the draft. And then you feel really bad for your team because your team gets a D or a C and it's average, Well, maybe it's average to what your needs are, but maybe you still find one or two guys. I mean, the trick is if you can find a Pro Bowler, a draft, and 2 guys to contribute right away, then you've done really, really well. It's when you start stacking your team with mediocre players that your team becomes mediocre. So you can say, look, this guy's been a 4-year starter for us ever since he came into the league. Well, that's great. But if he's just another guy, then you're not stacking your team with greatness. You're stacking your team with averageness. So you really can't even grade these things until you're 2 years down the road. When we come back, a team that's trying to get out of averageness. That's the Detroit Lions as we continue our look around the NFC North. And earlier today, Dan Miller, the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, joined us. You're going to hear that conversation when we come back. Stay tuned. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up, and it's coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. We are glad you are here. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Hey, I want to say thanks to some of our great friends that help us out on site all year long. Our friends Lyle and the whole crew out of J&L Tire Service Center out in Johnson Creek, featuring Goodyear, Dunlop, Kelly. They got it all. Plus truck drivers. Hey, listen, if you are cruising around out there and you've got either a truck or a trailer issue, they can take care of that as well. They are highly skilled, and they're really, really good people. So check them out. J&L Tire Service. Go to jnltire.com. That's jnltire.com. Right off of 94, right there in Johnson Creek, right in front of Highway Harry's or across from Pinecone Restaurant. Then our friends at Epoxy Flooring Done Right, providing Wisconsin home and business owners epoxy flooring coating services at reasonable prices. And I have this done in my house, colors, finishes, paint your room, all that kind of good stuff. They do it great. Go to epoxyflooringdoneright.com or call Sean from Green Bay to Milwaukee to Madison, everywhere in between. 262-443-2852. 262-443-2852. Again, 262-443-2852, and you will not be sorry. He does a fantastic job. Dan Miller, voice of the Detroit Lions, had a chance to catch up with him, and it's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to Dan. So we start out with just saying, Dan, how you been?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Bill?
I am doing great. So a lot of new faces, some old, some new, but nevertheless trying to breathe a different life, a different culture over in Detroit. So tell me, just give me your thoughts and kind of like a Cliff Notes version as to where the Lions are right now.
Well, I think they're in the midst of a significant rebuild. They call it a retool. We can call it whatever you'd like. But I think if you look at the moves that they've made and listen to what they've said, they understand they're not a player or two away from winning. They're not a player or two away from contending. They know this is going to be a process that's going to take an off season or two to put back together. And you obviously need some luck to speed that up. But I think that if you look at what they've done so far in terms of signing players, they've really all been short-term contracts. Very rare that they've given 2 years. Most have been 1 year, prove-it type deals. They traded Matthew Stafford, which is your biggest sign of all, that they were going to go in a different direction, and let Kenny Galladay go, let Marvin Jones go. So it's, I think, a group that's come in and said, look, we need to redo this thing, take it down to the studs, do it the right way, and not try to piecemeal this thing together like we've seen from some other regimes in the past. So will it work? I don't know. You have to be right when you select these players. They're building assets in terms of getting draft picks, but it is ultimately one of those things where only time will tell, but you can see what they're attempting to do.
What is and you and I talk about this every year, it seems like defensive back still is somewhat of a need for this team. Is that the priority right now? Or when you look at this team and the way it is built or going to be built, I go back to when Ted Thompson first took over the Green Bay Packers. His first few drafts were strictly just whatever the best available player was there, that's who we're taking, because you can never have too many quality players and playmakers on the field. Is that the kind of the thought process right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, their defense needs a lot of work at every level. And offensively, they've got some holes. But I think you are early thing, and your roster is thin enough that the reality is you have to say, we need to draft the best player. And we need to start building our roster with the best players possible. And we can get specific maybe next off season when we identify needs and start building through free agency to fill those holes and finish out this team that we're putting together. And that would be them looking at it. But look, if you look at number 7 right now, they could certainly trade back. They could make a case to draft an offensive lineman. They could make a case to draft a wide receiver. They could make a case to draft a hybrid wide receiver tight end if Pitts was sitting there, which he won't be. But they could make a case to draft a defensive back, linebacker. I mean, there's really so many different ways they can go, just depending upon how the board breaks. And if there's a quarterback sitting there that somebody wants, more than happy to back a couple picks and just try to build this roster that way. So they've got options, but your observation and the way that the Packers did it, I think, is the way that that they will do it. They're not going to pin themselves in and drop down their board because they need X, because they need a whole lot more than just X. They've got a boat full of needs that they need to fill. And the best way to do that is to get the absolute best football players you can.
Talking with Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions. You go to Jared Goff and the trade and Matthew Stafford moving on. Now, clearly you can tell that L.A. is looking to upgrade the quarterback position, and they feel they're only a player or two away. On the opposite side, Goff has had some experience, obviously going to a Super Bowl, but what do you expect out of him as this team tries to rebuild? It's very difficult for a young quarterback to be a part of a rebuild and excel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And look, I don't know exactly what to expect out of him other than I believe he's going to get a real chance to be the quarterback here. Remember, Brad Holmes drafted him in Los Angeles. And Ray Agnew, who is Brad Holmes' second in command, came from Los Angeles. So these guys know exactly what they were getting in Jared Goff. I do think they want to give him a chance at the age of 26 to prove that he can be the Lions quarterback. I think they believe a lot of the reasons that he was drafted number 1 overall are still there. Not that some works haven't developed or that he has some things to work on, because he does. But I think they feel like if they can take this deal, pick up 2 number 1s plus more draft capital, and potentially get their starting quarterback out of it and not have to utilize some other assets to get that quarterback there in good shape. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but I do think he's going to get at least this year to show them what he can do. Will I be surprised if they draft a quarterback at number 7? I would be, yeah, based on what I've seen and what I've heard. But again, not shocked. We don't know these guys real well yet. So I think that there's one of these situations where they know the player. They went and took the player and his contract and then redid his contract, and all those things add up to Jared Goff getting some time here in Detroit.
What is the expectation? Because the fans have been through so much, and last year was a weird year, obviously, with fans really not being in the stands. But what is the vibe in Detroit right now? Is this palm to forehead going, here we go again?
No, I think it's more optimism. I think it is. Look, in the world of sports, change is hope. Drafts are hope, and all fans want is a reason to have hope. And these guys have come in, not sold a line to everybody about how close they are. They said, look, we're not that close. And we have work to do. And all you have to do is look at the product from the last 3 to 5 years and know that it wasn't good. The defense was horribly bad, historically bad. So nobody can come in here and throw a bow tie on well, we'll leave that out. But nobody can come in here and put a bow on this thing and tell you it's a tuxedo. It's just not. I mean, so I think fans here are saying, okay, you've got your time. We hear your plan. It's a solid plan. It's really the only plan that anybody could believe is even remotely viable, because you can't build a team through free agency in this league, and you only have so many draft picks. So this is going to take some time. So they've sold it well. And I think fans are saying, okay, we see what you're selling here, and we like what you're selling. So let's do this. And we've been through so many regimes here that have kind of come in and said, okay, we have Matthew Stafford, so we can put this thing back together and put a couple of pieces in there, and we're going to be okay. Well, it didn't work. And it was time for Matthew to go. Nothing against him at all. He gave everything he had here, did some really good things, but it didn't work. And he's going to be 33 years old. So it's time to move on to, plan A for another group. So I think overall, I think fans are excited by the opportunity to see something different and to see something built from the bottom up.
TJ Hockenson, you talk about some of the bright spots. You had mentioned the possibility of tight ends, say, if somebody fell. But TJ Hockenson started to shine. I started to see an emergence out of him. You got it, what you believe to be at least a decent running back core. Like you had mentioned, it's going to be a changeover at the wide receiving core. But there are some bright spots. It's not like the cupboard is completely bare in Detroit, right?
No, there's no question. I mean, if you look at the front where you've got Decker and Ragnow and Jonah Jackson had a real nice rookie season, those are three pieces they feel really good about on the offensive line. TJ Hawkinson is a terrific player. When I mentioned tight end, that was specifically to Pitts, who is a hybrid wide receiver tight end that you could very easily put on the field with TJ Hawkinson and, have that Patriots type of nightmare for defenses trying to deal with those two guys. And, Pitts doesn't run like a tight end. He runs like a wide receiver. So specifically to him, but, and then you mentioned the running backs. They feel good about where they are right there. Signing Jamal Williams, I think, was a little more depth for him, and I think they feel good about that. And then defensively, it gets a little murkier there. And I think that, you have last year's number one pick, Jeff Okudah. I think they like Amani Oruwariye and a lot of things that he's done, but he's got a long way to go. But I think they feel like they got two young corners there that they can work with. Tracy Walker is a guy that going into last year, people felt was ascending, into being a really good safety, but he took a step back. So he's got to get that thing back together. There's some pieces along the defensive line. John Pennicini had a really nice rookie season, looking like a contributor at defensive tackle, and Trey Flowers should be back healthy. So there are pieces around this team, but you need a lot more. And I think that's what they're looking at right now is trying to, say, okay, we do have some things here. We've got the makings of an offensive line. We've got the makings of a running back core. But we need to start filling out the rest of this team because you can't win with, this many holes that they have right now. And frankly, they haven't won in several years. And that's the reason why.
Dan, before I let you go, I just want to get your opinion. You've been around quite some time. You and I have talked a lot. Outside looking in with the Green Bay Packers, a lot of discussion about Aaron Rodgers, the contract that has not basically been restructured or extended. It seems like there's games of chicken going on. They haven't really done a whole lot. They don't have a lot of salary cap room for that matter. Does your gut say what the hell's going on over in Green Bay?
Look, I got a hard time being critical of anything they do there based on what's happened here. But I will say this. I've been doing this for a long time. He is one of the players I respect more than any other. I just have to think he is amazing. I think if you're doing anything that's going to drive him away, that's a mistake. I'm not privy to everything that's going on there. But if I have Aaron Rodgers and I see the way that he played last year, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that he's on my team, happy and playing until he shows me he can't play anymore or tells me he doesn't want to play anymore. So, yeah, I think sometimes, again, 100% not being privy to everything that's going on. But when I see that there is some sort of disconnect between Rodgers and the organization, I don't get that. Because players like that, you should always find a way to have peace with and get them out there because they don't come along very often. And I think he's a great player. Look, if they want to send him away, I'm all for it. Just get him out of the division. Get him someplace where I don't have to see him anymore because that guy has, done so many things to this team for so long. And, chief among them, that Hail Mary, which certainly probably took at least a year and a half off my life. So, look, we'll see how these things work out. You never really know what's going on behind closed doors, and it wouldn't be the first thing that makes us scratch our head in the world of sports.
Dan, it's always great to chat with you, pal. We'll talk to you soon, and stay well. We'll talk as the season starts to approach, okay?
You got it. Thanks, Bill. Be well.
There you go. Is the voice of the Detroit Lions, and always a pleasure to talk to Dan whenever we get an opportunity to. Just such a good guy, and talked to him a little bit earlier today. Let's do this. We'll step away. When we come back, we will wrap things up as day one of this week is in the books, damn near. And you got Brewers baseball, Bucks basketball coming up, more NFL draft coverage all throughout the rest of the week. A lot of stuff to get to. Hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella, don't you just love fresh air and sunshine? It's so stimulating.
Absolutely. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin is in the fresh air and sunshine business.
Since when?
Since like forever?
Seriously?
Think about it. By upgrading with Pella replacement windows, you can let the sun shine in as much as you want with blinds and shades between the glass.
And Pella's available roll screen lets you get a breath of fresh air when you need one, then it rolls away out of sight when you don't.
Very stimulating.
Hey, wouldn't it be smart to use the latest stimulus check or your tax refund to invest in energy-efficient Pella windows and doors?
That's a great idea, especially now. Order by April 30th and get 6-year no-interest financing.
Pella now, pay later. Now that's a stimulating breath of fresh air.
Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show continues on. Glad to have you as we got a couple of minutes before we get out of here. Andy Herman of the Pack-A-Day Podcast is going to be joining us coming up tomorrow on the program. We'll talk with him about the Green Bay Packers and maybe what direction that they might go. So we'll get into that. You got the Brewers tonight back at it. The Marlins are in town this evening. The Marlins are in town. Cubs are on the road taking on the Braves. Matter of fact, that's an ESPN game tonight. The Reds are in L.A., back to the West Coast, taking on the Dodgers. St. Louis is at home hosting the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. The Pirates are dormant this evening, but the Brewers back at it. On, you got against Trevor Rogers, 2.37 ERA. Trevor Rogers is not a bad ERA himself, 1.64, or a 2-1 record coming in to tonight's contest. They're 3 games under 500, 500 on the road. The Marlins are 9-12 overall, 5-5 away from Marlins Park. The Brewers 4-5 at home, oddly enough, and looking for yet another win and to climb back to the 500 mark at American Family Field. So that is coming up tonight. Tomorrow on the program, like I had mentioned, we're going to talk with Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast. He's going to be here. We'll discuss with him this Packers position. Also coming up later in the week, Paul Charchian. The Charch is going to join me as we're going to talk with him about the Minnesota Vikings needs and about this upcoming draft as well. Also coming up on Thursday, just prior to the draft, Brian Billick, the Super Bowl winning head coach, is going to be here to talk some more with us, and a lot more coming up. And then again on Tuesday, you got the Bucs and the Hornets going at it. Bucs on the road with that, 1 game down, 3 to go, the brief 4-game road trip before they come back home for back-to-backs against Brooklyn, who seems to, at least with both KD and Kyrie in the lineup, seems to be able to score almost at will. So the Bucs hoping to get a few more wins under their belts before the East leading Brooklyn Nets come to the Fiserv Forum only about a week away. So a lot going on over the next 24, 48 hours leading into Thursday night's NFL draft, and then obviously the weekend and the Kentucky Derby and such. But, man, good stuff today. Good stuff by everybody today. Had a good time, as always, and getting a chance to catch up on a Monday. Hopefully the Brewers walk away with a victory tonight, which will be nice, and then just continue to build upon that record as the Brewers are 13-8. They're 2 games up in the division, and you like to continue to stack success. They've won 5 of their last 6, and going for the 6 of their last 7 if they can get it tonight. And Corbin Burns certainly gives you the odds in doing so and being able to have that success. So good stuff. Good stuff today. Back at it again tomorrow. So until you and I talk yet again then, time for us to go. Have a good one. See ya.